Okay, fellow Discordian people, I'm going to turn up your volume now so we can just briefly talk.
But the
So you know. I know they don't know. Hello,
well,
everyone.
all 4 attunements.
Okay, they're good. Are you all good?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, it bled through. Just like an echo of my voice. That was very disturbing.
What, to yourself?
Just really quick. I don't hear it anymore.
Oh, okay. It might have been because
I'm gonna try to keep these and not be gross on stream.
Okay.
Mukbang stream.
Alright, they can hear your voices. We're actually on the Guild Wars 2 channel thingy now. Because
Oh,
I was on
lovely.
Sea of Thieves. Because I was playing Sea of Thieves last night. Oh, dear. And everyone, and it's like, oh damn, you only had like 10 more minutes until you could all get your obsidian capstones. Damn it. I'm sorry.
We just wanted everybody to be able to, like, you know, get a little bonus time today. So watch some Guild Wars 2, but get some sweet drops for Sea of Thieves. You know, just multitask.
I would actually enjoy playing Sea of Thieves with all 3 of you.
I've never played.
Never played either.
What?
I'd be down.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be absolutely wicked. Yeah, I'm so up for that. I'd actually be really up for that. It's so good. It's so good. The new update came out yesterday. Anyway, talking about Guild Wars. Oh, everyone in the chat, hello, welcome.
Oh, we're here.
Yes, we're live. I'm gonna actually start again because it's getting a bit weird. Yeah, Mail's joined us as well. Had to put up with my panic and everything last night as we're running around like absolute awesome legends. Okay, I'm gonna start on Vindicator. We'll go through. All right, chat as well. If you want to have some say in maybe what we do content-wise, then drop some suggestions in the chat if you would like to. We might do Fractal first. We're thinking about possible World v World, but it seems to be a bit buggered.
Roleplay in Divinity's Reach.
Yeah, or just roleplay. Thank you for the invite, legend. Fractals, okay. Let's go do that. And yes. Okay, right, I'm just gonna do a little intro and then we'll get going. All right, peeps?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the LightBringers podcast. It's the LightBringers place with myself, Jebro, your host, and we have 3 amazing and awesome guests. Just the words I was going to say. They're going to be on your screen right now, hopefully with no bugs, and everything's going to be fine. Yay! You can hear them as well.
Hello.
You can hear them as well. It's true. It's true. We're going to be playing the Elite Specializations today. If you've not watched before, yes, we do a podcast every other week, but then also we do LightBringers Plays, which is basically where we play the game and talk about the game, because sometimes it's just easier to have it in front of you and talk about it. Sometimes not at the same time it's easy, but we're learning, and that's the important thing. Even though you're a streamer, and this is something you may do, I mean, some of us not do it all the time, it's not actually easy to do a podcast with 3 other people and play the game and do all the things and look at chat, so it's actually quite challenging. But yeah, hello, Boots, Rook, and Criff back. Talk about Elite Specializations. I hope you're all well. Boots, what do you do? Where do you do it? Let's do some quick intros first.
Hi, I'm Boots. You can find my stuff on YouTube, World of Enders. Also, did you know that I streamed twice this week?
This is so good.
I know. I don't know if I'm going to make that a thing, but it was fun. And that's it. That's me. Also, host of Aswan. I do a podcast with Alona, who is, and hashtag, the 2 hosts of Aswan, and I have joined them.
Nice. What, permanent now?
I think so.
They make you live every day in a constant state of uncertainty.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like Jebro. Anyway, continue.
Wait, I don't know what I wasn't even listening, so. Boots won't be back next week.
At least there's some certainty there, though.
Yeah.
At least now I know.
I mean,
Puts our
there's
minds at
so
ease.
much uncertainty.
It's
in me.
confirmed.
Awesome to have you here, even though you're a bastard. Rick.
I'm gonna be on my best behavior because I do not want to be disinvited for next week.
Rick,
Hey,
are
everybody.
you going to be mean to me? That's the question.
I'm Brooke, and Jebra's my favorite content creator. But
Excellent.
sometimes I also do like just a small amount of content creation, so you can find me on my channel. But like, always check out Jebra first. But like on my channel, you know, you can find me at Bird of Chess, and
go now,
I
it's okay.
stream most days. And I, and if I'm not live there, I'm probably talking on podcasts like this. But you can also find me over at YouTube now. We've just been rolling out some YouTube content starting last year, and that's been awesome as well. You may recognize me from the pre-show that happened for the End of Dragon's First Look live stream, and I'm looking forward to doing more lore stuff and have some big projects in the works, so keep an eye out. But everywhere you can find me, Bird of Chess, though we do have an upcoming rebrand, so keep an eye out because it'll be changing very, very, very soon. To a different
What?
name, but same communities.
What's it called? What's it called? Wait, you're not Bird of Chess anymore?
I will not be Bird of Chess anymore. I haven't revealed the new rebrand name, but
We love a metamorphosis.
Is it
yeah,
gonna
we're
be?
transforming.
Is it gonna be pumpkin of squash? And then
Yes.
when people ask you,
Yes,
do you
it's
play
gonna be
squash?
more
You'll
convoluted.
be, no, I don't actually play squash. I just.
Boots, I told you that in confidence. I told you not to reveal it on stream today.
I didn't sign an NDA. Whoopsies.
Back to the drawing board.
Awesome.
That's it. That's the end. Yeah,
exciting.
thanks,
So you better tell me before when that happens, so that I remember to change your name.
I will do. I'll be doing a
If-
blitz,
if-
telling everybody so.
If Rook is the name that is to be changed, and that is, I guess. Oh, you never know. I don't know. I'm just trying to.
I will stay Rook. The channel's just gonna have a name that reflects different things. It's different.
Okay. So your name is not changing.
My name is the same. Yeah.
It's going to be called. All right, let's not guess, because that could be the podcast.
Yes.
I'm excited. Okay, good stuff. Kroof, hello. Tell
Hello,
us the pigs.
people.
Oh, God.
I love when I start talking and the immediate reaction is, oh God.
Proof takes a breath in. Jeb, oh God.
Oh jeez, why'd I do this again? Hi everybody, my name's Crow. I do a lot of YouTube stuff, but also I'm doing Twitch more consistently, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. You can go check out my YouTube channel where I posted a lengthy video about the Catalyst, which we'll probably dip into today, considering
I
all
didn't get to
things
watch that,
going
actually.
on. So yeah, lovely to be here once again. Thank you for the invite. I love my fellow podcasters. Y'all are always amazing, so thank you.
Awesomeness. All right, let's do just level, what, 4? What level can we do up to until we get
4.
wrecked by stuff?
Oh,
Fractals.
fractals.
Yeah. 19, right? Okay.
Wait, stop. Everybody, come to me first and check this out.
Where
Yeah,
are
let's do
you?
it.
Okay.
What,
Show
well,
us the sweet moves.
you're nowhere near fractals at all. Why don't you just come to fractals?
I'm out of combat. I'm a Bladeswron.
Uh-huh.
And I'm in my stance and I have 10 stacks of ammunition.
I mean, it's good.
Cool.
I do like that you can hold it. That is one thing that I noticed that I'm like,
Yeah.
that's kind of nice. that
Let's
it
go and
actually
kill.
just-
Let's go and kill Matron.
works that way.
I'm protecting Lion's Arch. If an enemy comes here and stands within 600 feet of me, I will be able to slash him good.
Okay,
Whenever
so-
that sea leviathan comes up,
So tell me,
rip to them.
what are people playing? Boots, what are you playing?
The Bladeswron.
The Bladeswron. Okay, and is that a damage build?
This is a damage build.
A damage build. Okay. Rook, what are you playing?
I am playing. I'm doing it. I'm playing Catalyst.
Excellent.
Shoosh.
Is it?
You will all have to be picking me up off the floor though, so please look forward.
Okay. That's fine. That works as well. Proof.
And I am playing the lovely Vindicator. There's a motorcycle in the background, so apologies. But it's fun. I'm playing a power build. I might be taking the dodge that grants us extra protection and might. and extend their boons just to have slight group support, group utility. But yeah, Vindicator power.
Well, you can. I'm gonna give the barrier and healing, so you can do the might stacks if you
I'll
want.
give the might.
Because
Yeah.
I'm gonna be playing a full support Vindicator, everyone. A full support Vindicator.
I too am running a support, in that I have cute animals, and if you like, if you blink over towards them and like manage to catch it in the small short window that they are alive, you will be able to feel better by looking at them. So that's
Just
kind of what I'm
comfort.
doing. Just like a cute turtle, like you want a cute turtle, bam, right there, make you feel better. It's gone now, but it was there for a
Yeah.
second.
I'm sorry,
For
I
one
missed the turtle.
second, it was
That's
there,
true.
So.
It'll be there for longer when we get in there and you're doing damage to things. It's fine. It's gonna be okay. Oh no.
We'll make
okay.
it.
We'll make it. We'll make it. We'll go. If we need more people, we might we might kidnap someone from the chat. Okay,
Yes.
so we're gonna start talking about Vindicator first. Has everyone played Vindicator, by the way?
Yes.
Yes.
End this. Follow me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Instant first impressions. How was it when you started playing? Was it a bit meh? Was it okay? Was it like, what was your first impression when you started using like weapon skills and stuff?
I like it. It felt comfy
Fine.
to me. I tried out the greatsword first, but I run greatsword on Guardian, and although it feels a little faster, some of the abilities are a little different there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was comfy, it was smooth. It made sense to me to get into it, and I like the variety of stuff that you can kind of do with it. In theory, being able to kind of flex back and forth a little bit and get creative with some of the flips, I enjoyed that if you're out in an open world, and then be able to play something a little more pure, like a pure DPS or pure support in another way. If you flip them right and do your rotation a certain way. I thought it was fun, and the dialogue was good. The little cues, I like it.
Ooh, yes.
Nice. Okay. Good. So Rick sounds like they enjoyed it. Okay, everyone. What did Griff, what did you think?
Well, I've played quite a bit of Vindicator,
Okay.
and out of the three, I feel that this one's probably the middle of the pack.
Okay.
It had a lot of good ideas. I think the Greatsword is probably the best elite specialization weapon so far, in my experience. It's pretty smooth. You can do a lot of things with it. It's impactful. Really great weapon. I like the idea of the utilities. However, my concerns when watching the trailer and the preview, they are maybe a little difficult to use and clunky. And it seems like a
Vindicator?
couple extra barriers to entry in terms of like, I want to play support, but I have to use these utilities, etc.,
okay.
etc. But overall, middle of the pack.
The stuff is from the Black Lion chest. Yeah, it's one of the lucky balls that I got recently. I got the wings and the staff in like side 5 boxes. So I was
Very nice.
lucky. I was very lucky. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, that's a really. Oh man, you should use that staff on a daredevil. Think of all the swirlies.
Yeah, well, I used staff 5 as well. It's pretty nice. Patreon leg? Ah.
Okay, now the problem is we have now arrived to me to talk about the
Oh,
Vindicator.
yes.
But we are
Alright.
also playing a game right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to try to get killed really quickly.
Well, I can
and
talk about
the
I can talk
Vindicator.
about my thoughts and
Perfect,
things
perfect.
if you want. That makes sense. I can talk about myself as well. Not myself,
Yes.
but my impressions. Yes, do it. I think generally, all in all, I think Vindicator's probably been my favorite. Just in I can actually pull out a support build, but that's just because I like support. Because it's very much a different way of supporting for sure. If you wanted to, you don't have to. Like the dodge is pretty fun. Because you can pull out actually a ton of barrier. And the heal is actually really fun as well because I can't remember what to do in this. I'm just talking now, and now I'm like trying to remember the strat of the boss. And I don't know. I did just enjoy playing it. I think we played it during a raid. We got CC. I
I think you
supported
have to like
a
better
bit.
stand in the electric orb, like stay
Oh,
in this
you're right,
one.
you're right, we do.
There we go.
Okay, your face.
There you go. Bring her
Good
closer
job,
to
everyone.
here.
But I think generally, all in all, I played it in a raid to support, and the healing was pretty good, but it was the elite. And there's definitely this idea of having to be lower HP so you can do better healing, which kind of makes me sad a bit, but it means you can get barrier, I guess, because your health is still low. So it's, I don't know. I've had a lot of fun with it. Like the barrier is pretty nice as well. You can give like 3k barrier every time you get a dodge, which is quite often.
Decent barrier.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing if I can stack it up. I don't think so.
Give me healing and stuff.
Healing and stuff.
I'm gonna do 200,000 damage.
All right,
to these guys.
here's the permanent healing with my little box thing. Go.
Bladeswron, by the way.
I did find that it felt pretty accessible. Like, it didn't feel like something that I was really struggling to, like, figure out or, like, learn or, you know, that I was struggling to stay alive. It seems like there's a lot of stuff between both of them, even where you get some, you know, good heals or you get some good, you know, damage, like,
Yeah.
either way. And I was surprised to find that in, Saint Victor?
Yep.
That chest you can actually use even if you are, like, immobilized or, like, knocked prone, so you can activate it and kind of get a little bit of healing even if otherwise you're not able to use abilities, which was kind of, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Now if I'm in big danger, I don't know with my health dropping like this if it's gonna be so good, but you know, it was a little surprise for me with that class.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't actually think the little heal was gonna be that great, to be fair, and then actually, yeah, like you said, there's some good usage for it. Got CC, haven't we? Forgot about that. There we go. I should try and do
Get
that.
her in this field. Here, push.
Lightning bolts.
Get the bolts up.
Oh, it's on.
Oh, I
It's
see.
on.
Okay, we gotta wait another 20 seconds for that.
So she just stuns if she gets CC'd, huh?
So if you have a purple little icon like I do above you,
Okay.
you are being focused by her.
Okay.
So she's gonna come out.
So I'm gonna stand in this thing.
So since Sulian has one, you gotta
There you
go
go.
pull it. Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Good job. I
So she's
forgot
got a
about
few
this.
stacks. We can
Got
start
seven
hitting
down.
her now. We can start hitting her now.
There
Now
you go,
just, like,
I'm gonna pump
damage.
out the healing. Here comes the heals. Yeah, I don't get
Healing
much healing.
has been pretty fun to do, especially on another Revenant elite specialization.
Yeah.
Herald
Oh, she's
kind
right
of
in
was
there.
able to do some boon support, but having another thing that pairs pretty well with Ventari is nice to have.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I'm just pumping out Alacrity as well, hopefully.
So I just phased her with one hit.
Oh no, I'm not pumping out Alacrity, I lied.
As you should.
As I should. Right. Okay. Sorry, we're not talking about the Bladesword right now. We're talking about the Vindicator.
Yes.
It's okay, yeah.
Your
it.
thoughts, Boots. Take
This
it nice
is a
and
boss
slow.
as well, one of the more active
Okay,
bosses.
So if whatever I'm saying doesn't make any sense, please understand it's because I'm playing this game.
It's
and,
okay. I'm not doing very well at this even
You're
right
doing
now.
great. You're doing great.
Vindicator, I didn't play that much, honestly. I played for like maybe half an hour to an hour.
Okay.
So I tried out a few things with it. It was fun. It was fine. Like when we had our LightBringers talk, when we were just seeing the stream, the guild chat stream about stuff.
Yeah.
I think the only concerns I had about, like I had concerns about everything. I think the only concerns I had about the Vindicator was that number one, you lose a lot of the F2 functionality if you don't play the what's it called? If you don't play the legend, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because yeah, the legend, the F2 is basically you gain adrenaline. Sorry, you gain endurance, but you also do some stuff to your legend swapping. You swap all the legend things, which is great when you're playing that legend. But if you don't play that legend, all you get is a little bit of endurance, 50 endurance, which is good because it really seems like a lot of the class is tied to that new dodge roll. You're either carried by that new dodge roll in a lot of ways, or you're not.
Yeah, it's good in PvP actually. It's fun.
PvP.
It's really
The
fun
dodge roll is
PvP.
neat. It definitely takes a moment to adjust.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
kept hitting it over and over, and I was like, "What's happening to me?" And then I realized I was like, "Oh, right." But you can actually do a lot of interesting things with it. Like even just being able to reposition yourself for like a strike or to get in a certain place. I was surprised by how it does actually, I think, start to feel like when you can plan around that, and then you also have the like advanced retreat functionality between the two spirits and like that little bit of extra movement with the greatsword. It did not feel as limiting, like not having that second dodge roll. I was like, that's okay if you know how to use the other
It
stuff.
depends on which one you're using, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. If you're a good revenant and you know how to use your like Shiro stuff, then yeah, it's not so bad. But I think in PvP, people were mostly playing the Grandmaster 2 or the Grandmaster 3, not the damage dodge. Because even though the damage dodge does do a lot of damage, it's punishing in that you need 150.
Yeah, I went with the might stack. 10 might stack.
Yeah, so the
I
might
did
stack
play
is
a
one that a lot
lot.
of people use because it's only 100, and you could get that back relatively quickly. And you could,
Yeah.
you could like, you could make up for your lack of dodges by doing the Shiro stuff and kiting. But a lot of other people played the third GM, which is only 50 endurance, and might be a little strong for survivability.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some concerns with that one, especially in a PvP setting. I actually played a lot of the damage Grandmaster Death Drop in PvP, and
It's fun.
I didn't feel that it was too limiting. Yes, of course, you only have one dodge, so you have to change your mindset a bit. But depending on which traits you take, I actually got it back fairly quickly and easily. So it wasn't as
Interesting.
it didn't feel as rough. It didn't feel as rough as perhaps it would first appear. But I also could just I could have altered my playstyle to be a little bit more defensive in certain situations. But I think that's kind of a given, and I think it adds a little complexity, especially to PvP, where you're like, okay, I gotta have this in and out mechanic where gotta be careful.
Yeah. Also, interestingly enough, even though the F2 ability isn't quite as good when you're not playing that legend, I think a lot of people were playing like a normal power rev with Shiro and Jalis.
Yeah.
And just using the F2 dodge now with the new thing. And I think they were having a fine time with that as well. So even though you lose a lot of the functionality on the F2, that doesn't mean it's completely useless when you get 50 endurance from it, when a lot of your fun revolves around that new dodge.
Talking maybe a little bit more about the F2, when you're not on the new legend, it's just energy meld. And when you're on the legend, it's energy meld plus you swap over your utilities.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that the alliance tactics skill should be split, where F2 you maintain that energy meld, and the F3 is alliance tactics, where you just switch over your utility skills.
Oh,
Because
really?
in certain situations, I found that I want to swap over my utilities, but I don't necessarily need any endurance. But I want endurance, but I don't want to swap over my utilities. So it is a little extra
Is that
step,
the
and it doesn't
dance?
feel great.
Is that the dance they want you to do with the spec though? Is that
I'm
like the
not
kind of?
exactly sure if that's
Yeah.
the most healthy thing, though.
What also
It's-
is possibly not that healthy is the fact that half of the alliance stance is damagey, and half the alliance stance is very, very supporty. It supports yourself as well as your allies. There was a time where just playing Ventari Revenant was relatively strong as a support role, and you never really had a secondary healing support legend. Herald kind of could do a little bit of it, but yeah. So now you have it could be a dedicated second healing support. So is it possible that in certain circumstances that amount of support is a little bit too strong now that you have two full legends doing that?
I don't know. I mean, when you look at other classes though that are really strong in healing, when you think, I especially think of like Tempest and Druid, as far as I know, the Druid is mostly might and then it's some burst healing, right? I think that like some of those classes have held such a strong anchor, especially in like PvE content for so long, as just like being the thing, that having something else that, although rev healers are run, having something else that could be like really strong as a healer doesn't really bother me that much. Maybe just because it kind of it shakes things up in a sense, and I still see people taking other things as well. And of course we can see like how it actually goes when all potencies are, maybe more equalized and final adjustments are made. But I don't think that it's a bad thing to necessarily have some more dedicated, like, additional heal on heal, pure heal, big healers kind of in the game, because you're not using them all the time. It's like the variety of content that you have in the game where you might situationally use something like that is really specific in certain regards, and it might even free up other classes to be able to do other stuff or different compositions to happen. So
I guess I was just thinking more of like in a competitive standpoint. You know, like would too much self-support be there was a bunker meta back in the day for Guild Wars
Yeah.
2, and
This
I'm
isn't
wondering
as bad. I mean, it's definitely not a Chrono Mentor awfulness for sure.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be that, but I know what you're saying. There is that possibility, because I felt like I went into a PvP game, I was just full power, like you said. I went with this, and I know why the Switch is good, because the reason why I like it is because if you didn't have the Switch and it would just did the thing, you'd just be like, you'd have quite a lot of access to stun breaks. There's quite like those survival abilities, like quite often. I think I like the full kind of swap as well. I don't know. I think what I really like is the fact that it's so opposite. I just like that opposite. It just throws you into this place where you can be like, oh, I can just like do a little bit of support, or I can break stun, but then I can just sacrifice myself a little bit. If I've got full health, like my team or my raid or my PvP group, my World v World group, whatever, you know, I can kind of switch over to that heal as long as I'm, you know, get off.
I would say overall, even though I didn't spend too much time on Vindicator, just the overall impression I got of it is that it's not so bad. It's kind of fun, and that my only gripe possibly with it, well, not gripe, like my only concern with it is it just needs to be tuned a little bit for possibly being a little bit too tanky in some scenarios, and the dodge might need a little bit of bug fixing to it.
Yes.
Like
I think
like
I think you're right. I think like as long as that's the thing though. I think with these elite specs, especially like now with where are we? We're at the end of September, October, November, December, January, February, right? They want to launch. That's like 5 months away. The biggest important thing for me right now is over like numbers and just kind of fixing a little tiny bit of the dodge and stuff like that is it fun? And does it make sense? And how fluid is it for people to pick it up? Like, is it easy for people to pick it up? And it doesn't necessarily need to be like that for every single class, but like, you know, some of them do need to be. But like, does it make sense? Like what you're doing? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this class.
Can you follow the logic? And can people who are new to the game or people who are old to the game get their hands on the class without knowing like every single rigorous detail about, you know, how every single thing interplays, and still be able to like dig into it and find things that are enjoyable and play it? Yeah, I mean, I think that's honestly super important. And Vindicator to me in that regard seemed to really succeed in that I didn't feel like, while there is that little bit of mechanic, I didn't feel as though I were utterly overwhelmed by it or having to sit here like, wait, hold on. But then I would want to do that and then this, but then this and then that, which can be really fun sometimes. It felt like with this one, though, it was pretty clear cut what I needed to do and how I would do it. And then as I played more of it, I started finding that there were some fun things in it. You know, like I like classes that kind of make my brain work in different ways, or, you know, a different little pattern than what I'm used to. And I actually found that with Vindicator, I started to get excited by not just the idea of like, well, I'm DPS, so I'm going to do all red, then I'm going to flip it back to all red. I actually started having the most fun with it when I was playing around with the idea of kind of like hybrid stuff just out on my own and getting familiar with those abilities and thinking about like the ways that you could actually cleverly line things up so that if you knew like, hey, well, in this next moment I'm about to take huge damage, right? Or there's going to be a big retaliation or something, or like whatever it is, I can make it so that I've used these abilities that are going to be my strongest heal abilities theoretically when I flip it. And then when I flip it, it's like, oh, now I have access to those heals, but I still have something that's a DPS that I can use in the meantime. And then I'll flip it back again. Like, that's when I started to actually get excited about it. And while I think there are definitely builds and playstyles that are going to just aspect towards one or the other, right? I think that the possibility for getting really good at it to the point where you can kind of like adjust those flips in a way that accommodates various moments could be really fun to dig into. So yeah, I liked that.
I think you're right. I think it's like, even in the first 2 days of the beta, people are already having fun with it. And I think that just as we play more and more with it, it'll just get more fun because there's like a nice level of complexity to it.
Yeah, that has to be there. Like, but being able to, like I'm kind of saying, being able to kind of get it to a point where you can do something with it, but then the intricacies that are there, I think that is definitely important. That's good, like you're saying. Awesome. Yeah, I'm playing damage.
One last thing. What do you guys like about or do you like the greatsword?
Yes, I'm playing it right now. I really like it.
I do
Great
like
sword's
it.
the best thing, in my opinion.
Why is it the
I think
best
it's
thing?
fun.
Griff, tell us. Tell us why you think it's the best thing.
Out of the whole kit, I know we've got it, and I see what the conversation is, and I agree with it in part, but
You don't have to agree. That's fine.
I mean, yeah.
no, I do like I'm starting to see, and I'm like, yeah, I
Griff
guess
does have to agree with me.
I do have to. It's contractual, but I agree with the
Contract.
points that it is interesting, but I don't necessarily feel that it needed to be one legend. I think I would have preferred if they were two separate legends, because kind of touching back what you were saying, Jebra, where you have this accessibility where you can do multiple things and kind of be this hybrid.
Yeah.
Is that not already the core feature of Revenant's Legend Swap?
Probably.
So
yeah.
they've kind of given everyone 3 legends if you are taking St. Victor and Archimedes.
It's true.
And because I am kind of like when I want to make a build, if I want to make a hybrid, I'll take 2 separate legends to be that hybrid playstyle. If I want to
Yeah.
support, I'll take 2 legends to accommodate that. And so it does feel clunky when in competitive, especially when you are gated behind certain abilities that you have to use to get to a certain ability that you need to use or want to use. So I don't think they're necessarily going to get rid of that, though that's how I would have designed it if I was given that freedom. But I would like to see alliance tactics and energy meld be separated for you to have more agency to say, I only want to swap my legends right now. I don't necessarily need endurance.
Why would you do that though?
Well, because F2 and F3, F2 would be energy meld, F3 would be alliance tactics.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I think that would give maybe a little bit more fluidity to control and player agency. And
Yeah.
that's
Then
maybe
would-
one more thing.
Would F3 just not exist when you're not playing that legend?
It would just be locked. It would just be like blurred out.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, okay, right. I get you. That's
I can
possibility.
I can see that point. You know, like it is something where, I mean, yes, I think you're always like facing a bit of a struggle, especially if you decide to combine 2, in this case, I would say almost opposing ideas into one thing, right?
Mhm.
Does it then mean that those 2 ideas on their own are weak enough, like when you're balancing and you're thinking about it, that like you have to kind of use them both in tandem in order to be able to achieve anything? Does it mean that you make it so that each one on its own is viable and you can just sort of pick and choose which abilities you want? Does it mean, like, there's so many different things that go into that. I think thematically it really works for this expansion, especially
Yes.
if we are bringing some sort of fruition to the idea of conflict in Cantha, and the Luxons and the Kurziks being a huge part of that, and then bringing together these heroes that weren't just heroes on their own, but literally embodied the spirit of collaboration and of working together in a way to defeat evil against Shiro, right? That I think is really needed in Cantha. So like bringing that reconciliation to a class in what we can only assume is going to be some sort of big reconciliation, you know, bringing all the storylines together kind of expansion here with this, you know, End of Dragons, I think really works. But from a standpoint of, you know, if classes do too much in one thing, does that either dilute their original kind of concept, potency, powers? Or, you know, is it something where they do too much and then that kind of edges out other classes? I think that's a discussion definitely worth having.
It's
I don't
possible.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's possible that it feels like Vindicator, out of the 6 elite specs we've seen so far, might be. What is that face, Jebra?
It's me almost dying.
Oh, no.
Sorry. I was just like, I'm gonna.
It might be the most completely designed elite spec out of all 6 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must be, might be the most
It feels the most polished, but the thing I feel as well with this is actually that in PvP and World v World that you actually can go for more damage because you've got more support in this. I actually feel like a lot of the DPS builds in those competitive modes are going to change. I think they're going to change a lot as soon as they start to get to work with or they're going to change so they got more sustain, like Boots said. But like, we can go for this boss, by the way. And I feel like there is a lot of use here, and there's some runes that aren't out, and there's some gear maybe people, obviously it's beta week as well, maybe some tweaks and whatnot as well. I actually think that I think they're going to take out Jealous and stuff like that. I'm playing with like Shiro, which is fun. I was kind of hoping there was going to be some interaction between the two, but there isn't, as far as I can tell.
They're saving those voice lines for the expansion.
Yeah, I think they did say something about it not being yet in here.
Oh, okay.
But they
cool,
did say that it was supposed to, like, there will be,
Oh, sick, really? Okay, that's good.
Yes, yeah.
I like that.
But
okay,
I did catch the voice lines between Vicky and Archie. Ooh.
Yes, they're so good.
Yeah, they are good. They are good. Very good.
I'm very happy that we're calling him Archie, by the way.
Archie is perfect. Archie accepted.
Yes.
That's the name.
Oh, yeah, that works. That's fine.
If Archimors calls Saint Victor Vicky, we have to have a cute babyish name for Archimors.
No. Ow, 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 ow.
But I think as I've played more Vindicator, I don't mind the utility swapping as much. But once again, I think having a slight bit of agency to separate the F2 would be probably wise.
Okay.
But overall, I would agree. Vindicator feels the most fleshed out, the most polished out of really any of the elite specs, even the weapon as well.
I
'Cause a lot of times
the weapon is my
has
favorite.
felt a little bleh on these elite specs, or they need tuning a little bit more. But the greatsword is like doing really well.
It feels really good, and I like too that it feels like its own iteration of Greatsword, right? Like there are things that are familiar there, like the gap closer and stuff like that, but it actually it feels pretty light to work with. Like I like that you've got that timed block, which is a little bit more of a dexterity kind of thing. Like I think it's just fun to use, honestly, and the AoE at the end is satisfying. Like
oh, that AoE is great. I love that AoE very much. It's my favorite thing about it. Actually.
By the way, I think I'm not liking the current Vindicator AoE, because I could see your yellow box.
Oh.
I could see your yellow thing in combat, and so I'm getting distracted by.
Oh, you can see it. Why
right
don't?
now.
Oh, I think it's because you can get barrier from it, maybe. Because so that's why it's like a big
can you
friendly
see mine?
AoE.
I could see it. I could see both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
think
I
that
can't
necessarily
see.
be there for
I can't
allies.
see yours
Maybe it's
though.
yourself.
I can't see yours though, Kroof, if you're using
Oh, you can?
That's interesting. No, I can't. Maybe it's a bug. I don't have DX11 on right now because it's buggy for me.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Might
That
be.
doesn't make
I
sense.
used it right now. Can you see it?
I can't see it. No.
I saw it. I saw
I
it.
can see the
Maybe
AoE. I
it's
can see the
like
ring. I can see the ring, but not as if I was playing it. If that makes sense. I can see the normal kind of I can see the normal white ring around you
Oh, yeah,
for like
I
a
didn't see
combo.
yours, Jebro.
Yeah, so that
I
must be
see
a
a
bug.
big ol'. Maybe it's because of my settings or something, but I
might
see
be
a big
DX.
ol' yellow, scary circle.
Right. Oh yeah,
Maybe it's
that's,
just maybe you had a bug.
Circle.
that's a bug. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe there's something there. Huh.
Okay. Well, there you go. I don't think that's supposed to be the case. I think being able to see it in some way is good because of the potential to get boons or the potential to get barrier and stuff off the spec, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, but I'd rather it be green, you know?
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
would be a good idea. Yeah, that would be better.
Yeah, you really need to
Um,
see it for yourself to place it. Allies, I think that becomes a little cluttery.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, last but not least, if we are gonna address the F2 thing and separate it into your endurance and your other thing, if we're already looking at it, maybe we should look at it and see if they get a little something extra if you're not in the Alliance legend.
That's true. You gain just, energy instead of endurance, or you sacrifice endurance to gain
Oh
energy.
damn.
Because energy is really hard
We're all
to get on
dead.
Revenant, kind of.
I
no,
may or may
no,
not
oh, no.
have stayed in there because I'd be damned if I was gonna drop 8 bullets of my.
You said I worked hard for that.
I'm not dodging.
No, I just need to get my health up. Oh, I'm loving the usage there of the catalyst. Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
Love it.
Using the
Nice
abilities the best I can.
resolution, defending ourselves from the burning.
That was very
High
good.
plays, high plays.
Oh god, the high place. Where did they go?
Is
Coming in
there
with that
anything else
Dad,
to
why
say
did you
about
vapor
it?
force towards the boss?
How do you
Hey,
feel
where
about
on the
the
DPS go?
traits?
Yeah, I just got
Right.
damaged because everyone died. I changed the damage as well. I'm just going to damage the boss because it might be quicker.
Any other thoughts about the trait lines?
Oh, I
Oh,
gotta look at the
that's
trait lines
that's
again,
something maybe talk about after the my brain is like, kill the boss.
Let's go this first. Yeah.
Kill the boss.
So we got the 3 Grandmasters. I could talk to you.
Oh yeah, you can talk. Tell us
Yeah,
what
go
they
for
are.
it.
We got the 3
This is your
Grandmasters. We got
time.
the one that does a lot of damage. We got the and takes 150 endurance. We got the one that gives boons and does a little bit of damage and is 100 endurance. And then we got the one that gives barrier and healing and is 50 endurance. What do we have in the master level skills traits? Does anybody remember?
Master is
You can look
a
now.
lot about endurance. Reverse Curse, you gain endurance for each target affected. On Sayang's Trust, you gain endurance and give it to allies. And then Song of Arboreum gives vigor to allies and increases the effectiveness of the boon on yourself.
So depending on what you're playing, that could be very, very, very strong or not very strong at all.
You're talking about master
Yeah.
middle. You're talking about the middle line, sorry, at the moment.
And what
Yeah,
about
the
the
Masters.
adepts?
Okay. Alright, just
The
switch.
Adept is Leviathan's Strength, which
Right.
F2 now refreshes the cooldown of Alliance utility skills, and the cooldown of F2 is increased.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if I
And
like
it's
that
Stun
one.
breaks.
MSD
that's
of
true.
Xingje is when activating Luxon or Kurzik abilities, you'll give Might or Regen depending on which utility you use.
Mm.
And then the final one is Redemptor's Sermon, which is just when you get to 50 health, you give a burst of healing to yourself and allies.
Is the might and regeneration one the least interesting out of all of them?
Yeah, probably.
I think what's interesting is probably Leviathan's Strength.
Yeah, but
Really?
Leviathan's strength, you can get your CDs back. That's 20 sec. Like, that's. What is it? Refreshes the cooldowns of Alliance abilities. So what? This is refreshes them.
So if you happen
lower.
to use all of your abilities and then pop F2, if you don't take the trait, it'll still go on the 10-second cooldown. But if you do take it, you can instantly use them again so long as you have the energy. But because Leviathan's Strength requires 25 energy to use, you probably aren't going to get a lot of use out of that. And then
So what if you
bumps
do
up
it for
the-
one specific skill, like the one that gives you quickness?
That if you want to just go for like your self quickness and self-sustained quickness, sure. But it does increase the cooldown to 40 seconds.
Oh.
It doubles the cooldown. So it's a
Oh.
little punish. It is a very big sacrifice.
So it could
Yeah.
be used for like big spike damage or big defense, I guess, in a way as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just depending on what but it's got some play. Like I feel like that could be relevant for like a lot of situations. Whereas like the one stack of might.
I guess you're right, Kroof, though. Like in Revenant, the cooldowns of their skills have never been really the concern.
It's mostly the energy.
Yeah, but it is. But it is
Yeah,
with this.
yeah.
It is with this though, because you got 2 stun breaks. So you think about competitive,
But
like
what's the cooldown on the stun break, though? It's like 10
The
seconds.
stun break
Yeah, but
energy
it's
cost in
instant.
PvP is 35 though.
I
you're gonna get
got
chunked.
35 back quite quickly then. I mean, yesterday I think I used it yesterday and it felt pretty good. I don't know. But then again, like you say, you haven't got the switch so for 40 seconds, so that's the downside. But then again, it is only like that first line, so it's not meant to be massively. It does feel like it could be an important thing. I don't know. I tried it yesterday. It felt okay, but I feel like this one doesn't. The reason why this doesn't feel great, I don't know. Just because it's just that once that like, and you look up here at the 10 stacks of might, I'm just like, oh, I guess that would work quite well with that. But then I did try this Redemptor's Sermon as well, and that felt good in the support build.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I think, it probably will make the flow a little faster for some people. Some of those, I mean, again, it's funny because we've had a mix of some passives that I think have really they're really wild or really, really affect something in a dramatic way. And then some that are just like, yeah, I mean, that is probably fine. Like,
Yeah.
that'll probably make this thing just a little bit easier, I guess. So it's kind of in between, because I agree that I think sometimes if they're too underwhelming, it doesn't really feel like you can build a concept around that, like in and of itself. But sometimes, if they're too niche or too big or too, whatever it is, then it's like you get locked to just that one thing if that's what you're trying to do. So
I like that point that Cass said, actually, the lack of there isn't many upkeep skills in there as well. So that means that your energy does come back. Because even just then, I mean, I know I'm not in combat or anything, but like the energy was coming back pretty quick. So I think forget like in some of those other ones, like, you know, Herald or whatever, like you forget like you're upkeeping quite a lot of different stuff, and there's quite big heavy energy spenders in there. I don't know if the energy, I need to go and look at the other ones, how much energy other utilities cost. My Revenant knowledge is very lacking in comparison to
The
everything
energy
else.
upkeep skills have been really reduced over the years to where like impossible odds used to like consume all your energy, but now it only like degenerates it by 1 pip. So they've become extremely useful over the years. So they're not too much of a energy consumer, but if you maintain them for a long period of time, of course, like you'll see more like, okay, I'm not getting as much energy as I could.
Yeah. Okay. Is there
One
anything
thing
else?
about the traits, though, I want to talk about maybe the minors.
Yeah.
I
Should we go
kind
to?
of think these are like really strong for
Well,
minors.
let's go to open world and run around randomly, and we can talk more.
Perfect.
Where do you want to go?
Zone.
Like Heart of Thorns hero points or something.
We can go,
Ooh.
I mean, do you want to talk about things, right? As well, we can like.
That's right.
I don't want to get wrecked. I want to get wrecked.
I wish
We all
you
wanna
could
die
destroy
together.
today.
You said
There's
Heartthorn's
there's
hero
a good new
point.
song out by Zach
Ooh.
of fighting the frog.
Oh,
in
but the
Heart of
one I'm
Thorns.
going, the
Oh
one
my
down
gosh,
here.
that frog.
I literally went to it. This is the one. This is the one, isn't it? This one down here. I was like, I don't want. This is like the nightmare hero point in the game. Everyone knows. Oh god. All right, let's not go there. Just go to Verdant, like go to the beginning bit and see if there's anything
Onwards.
there. You have to check that out. Sorry, you were talking about traits.
Traits. I was really surprised to see that the Vindicator's minor traits are not separated on game mode. They're all the same.
Oh, right.
What
Okay.
are the minor traits? Tell me.
Balance and Discord is you gain health and boons when swapping legends or when using alliance tactics while attuned to the legendary alliance stance. This is like 1,000 healing and also 7 seconds of regen, which gives you around another 1,000 healing.
Not bad.
Depends.
It's
Yeah, what you're
very
using.
strong.
Depends what you're
And that's
using.
kind of
yeah.
what you were talking about with like the tankiness.
Mhm.
I'm kind of like a little worried that these miners are a little too strong.
Oh,
I don't actually think the regen
Is that
necessarily
in
needed.
Is that in PV or also the
That's
same
in
thing?
every game mode.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I didn't. Granted, I have not, delved into these from as much of a technical standpoint, nor did I take these classes specifically into things like PvP. So that's my disclaimer here. But like, I didn't feel as though it was wildly OP in and of itself. Like, just from what I was feeling compared to how the other classes have played or going through it. I mean, maybe yes, if you like really, really niche build it and stuff like that, it might be. But I don't know. I didn't get the sense that it was just like wildly overpowered compared to other
I think
classes.
you're right. I think you're right. It just needs a little tuning. It's not.
I think there's the
in PvE
potential.
it's fine, but in PvP, because it gives you that boon access, you basically gain a guaranteed
Heal.
access to that Ventari trait that gives you barrier for each boon you have. So it becomes a little tanky just with the minor traits. And then when you look at the other one, Empire Divided, it gives you a flat 240 power so long as you're above 50%, and flat 240 healing power if you're below it. So you're able to self-sustain even more if you are getting low. And in PvP, I think the numbers are maybe a little too high. They're very strong miners, and they are very flavorful, and I like them. But I think I was more so surprised not to see that they were unique per game mode,
I gotcha.
or that they were not unique
That's
per game mode.
okay though. I think that's okay. We're at that stage where I think they can be. They've got so much time. Like that's definitely there's something
Yeah.
which can be
Just to point
adjusted
it out,
pretty
because
easily.
I was really, it's been lovely to see that for a lot of these elite specializations, they've hit almost every single skill or trait to really at least attempt to balance it into the different game modes, which has been lovely to see.
I definitely am like feeling like I'm surviving more though, so I agree with you, even like in PvE as well. But again, how much does that matter when I'm roaming around trying to survive? That's probably good for a player, right?
It does matter. Difficulty matters.
No, it does matter. I agree. I mean,
But-
like, if a class is
yeah.
too punishing and it
Yeah.
feels like inaccessible in a way, right? Like, where you just can't stay alive, you can't survive, like you're really struggling, it's not fun to play. And like I think that's a totally valid
Rev is
critique
definitely
in open world wandering, you know?
Rev is definitely more of the more like if you go full damage, it's definitely more of the I would say more of a challenging spec than most to stay alive with if you don't know the skills that well. You know, like especially if you're going like Herald and flipping, I don't know, Assassin Shiro, or you're going for like, you know, I don't know, because with this, like I'm jumping into Vindicator and I'm like, oh, I've got this, you know, I can back out if I want to do that. I can heal myself, I can heal my allies, I can also dodge and get a massive amount of might or barrier. It feels very, I love that barrier. Like I really like the Grandmaster traits. I actually really like them. I think there's one maybe that could be changed. Which one is it? I don't know about Death Drop. Creef, you said you played with Death Drop a bit. I haven't played with it.
Death Drop is
it
a
good?
lot of fun.
Is it good damage or is it like?
How much in PvP? How much damage can you get that up to? Single drop.
I've gotten like 5k
Really? Wow.
on the,
I
on
see
the
so-
drop
I
with
saw-
crit.
That's pretty cool.
I think I saw somebody do 10k once, if that's possible.
If you get a lot of might or vulnerability, it hits very, very hard. And you also gain a 15% damage increase for 15 seconds, which is a decent duration. So
And you could probably get a second death drop off of that.
Yeah,
in-
if you
in
take
that
certain
time.
traits that give you endurance, like if you use alliance tactics and you're taking reverse curse, which gives you endurance for each enemy you hit or target,
Which
you can
one?
get it
The curse.
back
Okay.
pretty quickly.
All right, I'm using that now. Let's try. Let's go.
I mean, a lot of that does though depend on, right, like using a ton of other things in like, I mean, I would say like high competitive play, right? So
In World
if
v
you
World,
stack
that'd
all
be
those-
good.
yeah, like it's something that
Oh yeah.
is, you know, using the class well, I guess you could say, or
Yes.
using it
Yeah.
efficiently or
using it
optimizing.
in specific modes, right? Rick, where you
Yeah.
say like is what you saying, I think as well. Like whether or not it's relevant, like in World v World, like those traits together would be very good because of the amount of targets you're hitting, or farming it big events, and then maybe even raids on like big. You know, if you're going against a ton of mobs and there's other than like single bosses, you might change around, and that's why what I really like about Guild Wars 2. Sometimes it doesn't happen as much as I would like. I feel like they might be trying to go down this road a little bit more, maybe, where you even trying to change some of your own traits according to how fights are maybe in Campfire. I'm hoping that's a little bit more of a thing, because I know people do change depending on some raids and different fights. Like, you know, I know as a druid, I may change my heal over if I'm going for like, you know, Gorseval compared to, like, I'm not going to probably use my spirit. I'll probably use my trap more because of the burst healing and the condition removal, for example. And like, there's one thing that I like to change, and just to be like, yeah, I don't have to run the same stuff all the time because it's just the bad thing to use. You know, we're moving around more. Maybe the spirit isn't as useful. I don't know, different things. So I kind of like that idea. I'm kind of hoping that they're playing into that a little bit more, especially with the idea of strikes as well.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think the point earlier that was made about this class, which is interesting to me, is and of course, like your gear and the stuff that you have is going to be a little different, but I do like the idea of flexibility in Vindicator, and that, you know, if you're doing something and you find like, oh gosh, we really do actually just need a bit more support, or we need some more of this thing, you know, you swap those gear sets, and it's not like you're having to like log out, change to a different class, do the thing, come back in with like, I like that, you know, in and of itself, I think it offers you more options rather than less, which, like you were kind of saying, Jeb, with the idea of how Guild Wars 2, I think, shines in the way that it addresses many, many, many questions and kinds of content, you know? And for specific things like, you know, this particular ability, what are all the different answers to the question of what do we do against this? I think that it gives you good options, and hopefully with stuff like specific things that might be, yes, really frustrating in modes like World versus World, with more testing, more, you know, things there, we might see some of those, yes, maybe become a limited or unique per PV, like unique per mode kind of thing to address it. But like in and of itself, I think that it has a lot to build on, and like everybody was saying earlier, the polish is there for Vindicator in a way that like, no catalyst that I'm playing right now, is it? But like it feels coherent to me as an idea, you know, like even with it doing a lot of stuff, like I feel as though there's a lot of flexibility to it, and that's fun, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's interesting, and it gives you don't feel restricted. You don't feel like you're being put in the punishment corner for what you might want to do with the class. You can just kind of do it.
Are you taking Death Drop right now, Jebro?
Yeah.
Would you mind dodging?
Oh. Yeah, I can see the white line of yours.
Okay.
That's all. Yours
Yeah,
seemed a bit bigger
one-
than mine.
One thing about the dodges I would maybe like to see is maybe different spell effects to better tell which dodge you
Oh,
are using.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Ooh, that is a good idea.
Because they are all the same. So if you're fighting someone, of course this is mostly
But if you're an
PvP, but-
enemy, like, can you? Because I
Yeah.
can't remember playing versus a Vindicator, to be fair. Maybe
but
I just
I
don't
guess
want to be in that dodge anyway.
PvE, it's also like a nice little flair if they do decide to differentiate the spell effect depending on which dodge you're taking. I think just visual information is also very important in PvE.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be huge for sure. That would definitely help, especially because those have, such different effects. Having an
Jesus.
idea of what you're going up against in that split second when you have to make a decision would be helpful for sure. And especially too because like the culmination of those trait lines is like built around, those drops. So that's like a pretty big foundational thing with that, class.
Also,
And they're grandmasters, so
Yeah.
and they're grandmasters. Also in PvP, do you guys have that issue where if you see a Vindicator playing against you and they dodge, it's this weird like animation where they're like teleporting in between being gone and not gone and moving
Yeah.
around like this?
I didn't see that. I don't think I played versus many yet. I was one, but I was still having too much fun. The drop is really long. It's a really
Yeah.
long
Yeah,
animation.
maybe
Death Drop
strong.
it's longer, but it's strong.
It's strong. It's very
We
strong.
can-
I think I'd prefer the 10 slicer map, personally. But just personally, really, just in PvP and stuff. I think it could be
I
fun.
really-
It would definitely be fun, though.
I really find it funny that so it works because it's a 15% damage boost. But like, let's say in raids or whatever, and you're just trying to optimize your DPS. In order to optimize your DPS to get that 15% boost, you have to remove yourself from the fight for like 3 seconds. You have to be
Set
like,
up that
okay,
burst window.
bye, I'm gone. I won't be doing DPS for 3 seconds. But it's the same. Actually, it's the same thing with the Bladeswron, kind of. You
Yeah.
you remove yourself from DPS for 5 seconds in order to do, a 500,000 damage hit.
Okay, well,
It's cool though. It's cool though. I mean, I like that it changes things up and does it in a different way. I think that it changes up your flow of battle and what you expect, especially with like how you might time it or use it versus a dodge roll.
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're
well, I'm
so
gonna
used
I'm
to
gonna
having, like-
quickly
Oh.
give you like a little tiny bit of news as well, just because we like to do it live, and then if you can
Right.
continue with your point in 2 seconds. Sorry. World v World stuff looks like there's some issues. Hi all, we've encountered a number of issues, and thank you for the link in chat, by the way. With the initial beta of World Restructuring, we decided that our best course of action is to revert back to the World versus World linking system while we address these problems. We're going to cycle the World v World maps, forcing players out, sending players back to their original worlds, and then bring World v World back up. Map, state, score, etc. will remain the same. Thank you for your patience and participation. We've learned a lot, and we'll be looking to run another attempt in a few weeks. So it's
Ooh, okay.
unfortunately not gone very well.
Well, everything else has
big-
been so smooth. So
It's a big system. I think this is. I do have a feeling that this is going to take a bit longer than they may have
Yeah.
originally thought. I think it's a lot.
Did you guys?
It's reworking it from the ground up. So
yeah,
I'm glad that
feels
I'm glad
like
that they started doing the Alliance betas this early before
Yes.
the extension.
Oh my
I
gosh.
just thought
yes.
because they were like, if they didn't test any of these, and then they're like, with the expansion, here it is, and then we had this situation. It's good to test these things early.
Yeah. Did you guys listen to? Okay, so Teapot had an interview with Grouch and
Did
Ian
not see
Rank,
that actually yet. No,
way back, not way back, but like last week.
it's a couple of
or
weeks ago.
something like
Yeah,
that, for the Alliance betas. Did you guys listen to that at all?
I didn't get
A little
time
bit,
to,
yes.
no.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, we should probably just be talking about the Vindicator stuff.
Vindicator, we're good with. I mean, we're not going to talk about what I was going to do. Was I was actually going to play the Wild v Wild stuff and actually have a podcast on it next week, but that's not going to happen now. So there you go.
Oh, jeez.
Damn it, my plan's gone.
Well, I mean,
Effing chat.
it's one of those things where this is exactly why they do it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, not only is it great to let people, like, try it out, but really fundamentally, it's to make sure that what they're doing can handle the people and the loads and all of the changes and everything. So it's unfortunate this one had to end short, but I mean, just like you were all saying, like,
Definitely short.
we have until February, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
that's like, when you look at other games that I think really test this stuff in like the month before an expansion drops or something, and who probably aren't even completely overhauling fundamental systems in the game. If they had done something like that here in Guild Wars 2, it would have been a huge issue. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's really good that they planned ahead for this, because this was probably the last thing they wanted to see with it, but something that was like one of the contingencies, you know? Well,
So
if
my
it is broken, then
It does seem, yeah, I think it's a little broken. My understanding is that one of the issues is that you choose what guild you want to be part of an alliance for it, but for some reason people who chose a certain guild, like that guild was split up into different realms anyway.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I'm glad that they're readdressing that, because I think that's pretty fundamental to the alliance system.
Do you want to do a dungeon? I'm on Catalyst right now.
Yes.
Just gonna
Let's
do a
do
dungeon. Who's this? Who's this person? They're in your guild.
What?
They're called Bedazzle Kappa. Oh, is this Kaz? Wait, who's this?
Oh, that might be. Is that Masaga?
I don't.
That's Masaga, I think. Oh, hey.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Great sword is not. Oh, you've got the finger great sword.
Masaga's like, that is me. It's me.
My char.
Yeah, bro, if you are going to do a
wizard.
World versus World thing when it actually comes back up again, I have feelings. So I'm happy to talk about it.
I mean,
Yeah,
look, I
that's
would love it if you could all orient me, let me be the like little babby to a piece of content in the game, and you can all like get me into World versus World, because I went
Yes.
into it, I got my war clan stuff, but I've never gone deep into the actual, you know, bigger picture.
Well, we can
with it,
play. We can
mostly
do.
because
We can do a Lightbringers plays World v World.
love
yeah,
that.
and then we
I
can
would
just build some
totally
ideas and
just
think
do
about
that.
the alliance system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't even have to do it in the like, we can do it before and during as well.
I would love it.
Yeah,
Because I would
we
like
can
to
do
get into it. It just always, I held off because of exactly this, right? Most of the people that I wanted to play with and that I really would have enjoyed running around with, we were almost never paired up together.
Yeah.
And obviously as an ArenaNet partner, like there is some flexibility, you know, with being
you
able
can't
to,
get everyone
to move
else.
servers and things. But it was something where I never knew if I was going to be able to go back to my home world, and I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
totally sure. And I was like, I don't know. I would just rather a system come about where we could all play together and nobody has to be left out or anything like
That's
that.
the thing,
you know?
right? Yeah,
So-
exactly. I agree completely. Like being left out. That's the big
Yeah.
thing. And I've
Yeah.
always been like that. I love when you're like, oh yeah, we can go onto this server, and then there's just one person who doesn't have the thing, and you're like, I
Or
can't
when
do it.
Jebro says you're not coming back to next week's podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like when everybody else is having fun going into World versus World and Boots is made to go sit outside. Yeah.
Come to my favorite dungeon in the game. Come to my favorite
Before-
dungeon in the game.
I haven't done this in so long.
Honor of the
yes.
Waves.
One?
Honor
Where
of
we
the
go?
Waves is my favorite dungeon in the game.
Before we move on to Bladeswron or Catalyst,
Sure.
Yes.
I would like to give you a quick sneak peek of my
Fun.
my World versus World
Is this-
Alliance's
Oh, okay.
opinions, and that
Okay,
is,
all right.
and
Very
I think
quick.
you guys have heard this before. I have concerns.
I think everyone. I think they have.
Groundbreaking.
You?
I
Oh.
have concerns.
I think
Just
they
based
have
on
concerns.
Some things I've been,
Some
you know,
things
looking
broken.
at and paying attention to. I have a few concerns, but it's okay. I think it's good that we are in beta, and I will talk to you guys about that later.
I think everyone's going to pile on one place. That's my concern. I think you're going to get
I
some
don't think
really
that's
big
possible,
guilds.
actually.
I mean, I know like numbers wise, yeah, but I think the numbers are quite big. I think numbers are actually very big for that to not even be, for that to be like a big problem. But I don't know. You never know. Anyway, let's talk about Catalyst.
Okay.
Oh, we're gonna be here for a
Oh, we're
long
jumping
time.
straight to that one. Oh, dang.
Gutted.
Okay, all right.
Honestly,
all right,
we probably
all right.
should have started with Catalyst because we probably have a lot to say.
Well, I mean, I jumped into Catalyst and I got my hammer and I was like, let's go. Where are we going to go? So normally I go to ore first. I know, Criff, you go to ore sometimes to test things as well against the giants. But I just used to like all the consistency of mobs. Then realized that everyone else was going. Then there was no mobs, so I had to run around trying to find them. And I was like, oh god, this is like. But I jumped onto hammer first, and I was like, this weapon is very underwhelming. In part because of just different, I don't know, it just felt underwhelming. I don't know why specifically. I feel one thing I liked was the fact that with most of the skills, like when you went from different achievements to achievement, a lot of them did transfer over quite well. So if you went on the third skill, obviously you had the little thingy that went around you, the coil, whatever it's called. You had like a blast in the same place, like some kind of defensive ability in the same place, the same number on your ability bar and everything else. Thought that was cool. But then I was like, what are you trying to do with this hammer? Is this a damage? Is this a support? Is this just a hybrid? Is this a tanky? Is this bruiser? There's not much CC. And I feel like the hammer is undecided. If I feel like it is an undecided person who doesn't know what it wants to be and what it wants to do, and I don't know if that's okay, and I don't know if that's a good thing. So that's just the first thought I had about hammer. So what I want to do is, first of all, because I feel like there are a lot of opinions in this, and maybe we can pick it apart a little bit more, kind of in a row rather than just talk about all the things you don't like. Let's talk first about the hammer. Specifically as a catalyst, not necessarily the build, or maybe where you think it fits, but like, who wants to jump in and just talk about their feelings about the hammer first, really?
Oh, I'm ready for this. I was literally just testing this right before stream today. I was hopping in for the first time, and like just the hammer alone, I actually really love the idea of the wheels. The wheel element, which I think to me feels like one of the biggest draws of the feature of the hammer, because you're right in that, like, because you can switch between the different elemental attunements, and there's so much else going on with this class, it's kind of hard to tell exactly what the hammer is supposed to be doing. But for me, what I looked at was the specific unique thing that makes this weapon, like, it's a special feature of this weapon, which for me was that wheel. And unfortunately right now, although I like the idea of it, I say this like with this being the class I was most looking forward to, right? I was so excited about this. But like, what is even happening? Like, it's so weird, the duration on this. And like, in theory, the idea is that when you're using this elemental wheel, right? So you use it in one aspect and it creates this little orb that flies around you, which is great. And then the idea being that, in my mind, I would probably get that up. That would give me some kind of, bonus. It does that ongoing damage. And while it was doing that, much like any other dot or Condi in a game, I would then do a couple other things in that element. And then I'd switch to the next element, which in theory should, extend out my my Jade Sphere. And in that next element, I'd add that next one into the wheel, and it would like build more of the momentum. I'd start doing more, and then I'd do some more stuff in that element, and then I'd go to the next one, and so on and so forth. But unfortunately, right now, that theory just does not work. Like, the timing and duration on these is so short. Like, it's so short that in order to use them, I almost have to like immediately toggle through every single one, activate the wheel, and then when I have all of them up, hope there's an enemy nearby, because then I can't hold on to it for too long, so I just gotta use the special grand finale ability to send them all flying at an enemy, because they can't really be overlapped in a satisfying way to keep that ongoing bonus damage. So it's like, it's okay to me if it's something where they wanted this to be like your burst ability, your grand finale as it is, but it feels like I literally get punished for doing anything else with the weapon while trying to maintain the wheel. And like, I just don't think that feels good. I think if that's the unique feature of your weapon, then you gotta lean into the design of that wheel. You need to make it something that like is part of the flow and that you can, I would think, keep up all the time and then detonate it like specific moments for burst damage. I don't know. How does everybody else feel? To me, that's where I found the biggest disconnect with this weapon.
I think is that and that's worth talking about as well, because it did feel like that, from the trailer, that was the case, that this was such a big feature of it, and then when I'm playing it, I really don't care I really don't care about maintaining it because I'm like, it's too difficult. It's too much effort because I'm not using anything else. I think that's a good point. Sorry, Creef.
It is a good point, actually. I think I don't mind it that much. I think that it does need to be adjusted in that I think that the balls are in a weird spot going around you.
If you've got Juggernaut as well, they look all the same. Just FYI.
Well, if you got the Juggernaut, yeah, that's silly. It's kind of cool though.
It does look cool, yeah.
But no, if it's 450 away from you, it's like you could be on top. Like if you're fighting something, more than likely you're going to be on top of the thing you're fighting, and then it's not going to be hitting your target because it's going to be too far away from your target. It's going to be just rotating around you. Yeah. So that's a little weird, but I understand that they put it there because the hammer is kind of a weird little hybrid of ranged and melee, in that the fire and the lightning are both ranged 600, and the other one is melee. So like I understand why they put it at 450, but I don't like that. You can make it so that it doesn't hit when you're in melee and also doesn't hit when you're at ranged, you know?
Yeah.
It's a weird middle. It like tries to cover every single unit of range to the maximum of 600, but it's a little weird to use.
I think the fix for that is just to make the hitbox for those things bigger, so that when you are on top of something, it'll still be hitting. And when you are at max range, it'll still be hitting.
Yeah. Also, there's a good point in the chat that Nolan brings up, because I noticed this too. The fact that the orbs don't like... whenever you hit them, they will then be added into the circle, means that there are some times where you have like 3 orbs who are all in the exact same spot on the wheel, and they're like overlapped, so you can't even totally tell without actually scrolling over buff themselves, which ones are still even up. Like, it's very difficult.
It also messes with the actual damage activation time on it. So if they were all equally spread out, you'd be getting a hit every like quarter, half a second. But if they're all in the same spot, you have to wait for all of them to circle around to get one stronger hit, which in theory adds like a lot of complexity. But
I kind of like the finickiness of it. I really do.
In theory I would. But it requires so much attention to where the orb is when you cast the other one, and it's a cast time.
Could it be?
So it's like,
and
it's
this is the thing with it. Like, while I agree that I think the finesse of it has potential as far as a skill ceiling, at the same time, though, there is so much other stuff going on with this class that having to micromanage the pacing of just literally a weapon that you could swap out. You know what I mean? It's like, if we're making this the unique feature of the hammer, then I think it needs to be something that, again, paired with the other stuff in this elite specialization and like how you would be using that weapon, it like works and rolls into the flow, versus being something that like in and of itself, if you just want to use that feature on the weapon, you have to micromanage so intensely that the like 3 other things you're trying to micromanage in this class, like, and none of them dovetail well. So it's like none of them have a really good flow that I can find to like micromanage all of them together.
How would it be? I mean, maybe if it was just more of a, I mean, because I think you don't really have like the putting down the sphere. Like, I mean, I think, you know, first of all, I thought that could have been like the gyro thing, but that doesn't really matter. That doesn't even have to be above your head. You can just look at the cooldown. I feel like that orb could be just like the gyros sticking above your head, but just a bit bigger rather than this thing spinning around, and just have this like, you know, 1 fire, one water, and then 1 earth or whatever, and just have these smaller little. What does it look like? Like there's another ability.
Would that be too confusing with also your Jade Sphere up there?
I don't know if the Jade Sphere. I can't see my Jade Sphere most of the time.
You can.
I can when
Only
I put
when
it
you
out.
use it.
Only when you use it.
Oh
though.
yeah. Only when you use it.
Then it's like just in the area of the AOE. It's not above you, so it's not like a gyro at all. It's actually like the only time it's like a gyro is when you throw it. It's like the function gyro actually. That's the only thing it's like in terms of gyros, because it's actually a targeted thing as well.
About the Jades, about those spheres, about the thingamajigs, it is that okay? So I don't. First of all, do you guys know? Because I know they did a competition with Hardstuck for DPS for each of the classes, like a DPS competition.
Right.
Bladeswron is a little bit high, with 57,000 DPS. And I don't remember what Vindicator was.
I've got to go down here and kill the boss, haven't we? I
But-
think Bladeswron was top number 1, yeah.
Yeah, do you remember what Vindicator was?
No.
I think Ellie wasn't Ellie quite high?
Ellie
was
was
47
decent.
or
I think it
something?
was like on a large hitbox, it was like 40,000 approximately.
I think it was
So
47.
it's okay.
Yeah.
I think
That's
the
okay.
issue with it though is that like half of that DPS was from those little orbs that fight around you with the hammer.
Right.
Because it has a weird functionality of when you have a large hitbox, it hits the target like 6 times more often than you, or like more than that actually, like 11 times more often than it would if it was just a normal hitbox.
Oh, okay.
So great, but I don't think that I don't think that that's something that should be designed, right? Like you don't want
No.
a small hitbox to have 20k DPS and then a large hitbox to be 40k DPS because of one skill that's hitting way too many times.
So
Unless you make
here's-
that the core of what you're doing, right? Like, or unless that is like,
Yeah.
you know, the rest of the balance of that weapon is according to it. Like, I like the idea of like being able to cover more ground and do more and get more hit. Like, I like that idea. It just doesn't feel like how this is all structured, you know? I don't know. It feels like, if that were the case, in theory, you would think that a lot of the other potencies of the weapon would be lower, and then like you would try and keep this up again as much as possible, as opposed to like a burst hit. I don't know. I just have I have so many questions about this one, honestly, because I think in theory it works. In theory, it would work well together, right? So in theory,
you can kill yourself using the Vindicator Saint Urn, just little tidbit
you
if you
can't
didn't
figure
know. You
Yeah.
can kill yourself.
Or you can kill yourself. Yeah, I've done
But
that
like in
a lot.
theory for me with this one, right? My idea would be if I'm using hammer, I get the elements up, I get them rotating and rolling. Then I get my actual like my zones down again, and then I use my abilities within those zones. And each time that I'm swapping between the attunements, that boosts up the duration of my wells. And then when I'm in those attunements, that again, I can use that 3 skill to extend out the rotation of all the orbs around me, which I'm fine if that's the bulk of my damage. Like if that's what I'm doing and it's kind of like a unique condi where like that persistent damage is what raises my threshold, like I'm fine with that. And then maybe you can choose to like finish somebody off with that huge hit if you want. So like in theory, all of that should work together. And I've seen in chat talking about how Ellie is kind of like a piano class, and I'm like, that's fine to me. But what has to work right is that just like you would keep rhythm or keep meter in a song that you're playing on the piano, right? You also have to actually have a kind of pacing with the durations and the actual note values, if we're going to keep extending this metaphor out, that actually fits together in a satisfying way. And for me right now, it doesn't feel like these components come together. So it feels like, you know, I put down my well, but like it doesn't organically all work together so that as I am using these different things within the timed durations that I have within them, like if I execute it all just right, it lines up in these little niches, and then like I'm able to optimize everything. Like, I don't mind that idea in theory. It's just that right now it feels like the flow is so all over the place. It's like, I get this up, but then it doesn't actually extend it enough to keep it up if I switch between the thing, but then I can't even use this, so then I have to run back.
You're still talking about that first skill, aren't you? like that. That's
Yeah,
the
so
mid-
like here's
it was-
my first impressions of the hammer.
I mean, what? I mean, I think
They-
I think Rook, like what? Just to round up what Rook is saying, and then Creef, definitely to you. But like, I think Rook as well. Like, you're talking so much about how like that trailer did sell that third skill as well, and if they're gonna sell that skill, that should be like like it is a part of it, because I think it. And like it doesn't really flow between the attunements. I mean, it was a big, it was this big
I thought
spinny
they were
thing,
selling
right?
the sphere. They called them
that
wells,
as well.
which is incorrect, but
That
I
as
felt
well.
like I didn't really get that much of a sense of like the third skill being a main feature.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
saw the
Yeah,
third
it was.
skill and we were like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is great."
I
Yeah.
didn't. I was like, oh,
No,
sphere.
I think that was the main. I
For
thought
me,
I felt a
just
lot of
that
people
feels
thought
like
that.
the selling
This
point, the
bleeds
unique mechanism.
perfectly into what my
over this
feeling is
weapon.
about the hammer and the spheres.
Okay.
They are trying to do too much with Elementalist. They went a little too broad strokes with
Really?
this.
Really?
with Catalyst. For the hammer,
Weaver is more hectic than this.
I want to
no,
hear your explanation.
I think
of that.
Weaver. There's a lot of skills, but it's very specific in what it does. It's a bruiser or it does high damage. In the case of the Catalyst, it's covering so many grounds that you don't really do any of them perfectly. You can't specialize necessarily into one
Okay, I see
thing.
what you're saying.
You're doing a lot, and with the hammer,
Let's go.
I actually dislike the orb mechanic and think it would, as drastic as it is, be better if they completely deleted all of the attunement third skills. It feels a little too much like a core profession mechanic, and with the F5 being added to it, it's almost like you're balancing two core profession mechanics. Additionally, there's not that many fields on it. So the hammer, while you can combo, there's no field access. And so it just feels like you're relying on these spheres, which we'll get to in a minute. But
I so agree with you 110%. And that's what I was trying to say. It wasn't necessarily that, like, I think I was hyper fixating on the hammer ability itself. Like, I understand that the hammer ability is, like, not the core functionality, right, of, like, the class that this F5 skill that we have with the Jade Spheres technically is. But to me, it feels like this was designed to pair. It feels like these were designed to be two class mechanics.
Yeah. No, that's
like,
exactly what I was saying.
In the sense of balancing those two, because they are both theoretically, they dovetail into you swapping between your attunements, extending the duration, you using these abilities that, you know, if you use them within the field, and then you have this ongoing elemental damage around you, which, you know, with the auras and all kinds of stuff, in theory, to me, that's like the concept of the class. So it feels weird that, like, if that was something they were going to put in hammer versus the actual class itself as some sort of other ability that you're using, it feels weird to me that it almost, like, being on hammer feels, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it exactly.
I
It just doesn't feel coherent.
100%. I agree 100%. So if you remember when we did Lightbringers, when the guild check came out, that is like the concern I had with Elemental, with the Catalyst. That was like the thing I said about Catalyst that I was a little bit worried about, is that because of the fact that with a two-handed weapon, with this new elite spec, you have to design 20 new skills. It feels like they put a lot of effort into the fact that they have to design 20 new skills for it, and then they were like, okay, we'll make it really interesting so that people actually use these 20 new skills rather than just go back to their old weapons. And so to make it really interesting, they made the third skill there that does really interesting things. But unfortunately, it feels like that ended up being like 60 to 70% of the design of the spec in its entirety. Because all you get when you don't have the hammer is the well, quote unquote well, and like the trait lines, and the trait lines are okay. The trait lines are okay. Personally, I only really like one of the minor traits as like a really interesting design aspect of the Catalyst. The rest of it I could take or leave, kind of. So yeah, if you're not playing your hammer, and a lot of people are switching to like dagger instead of hammer because of the fact that right now the hammers, you know, if you're only playing it 3 days so far, it's hard to get the hang of. It's hard to get the hang of, so they turn to some things that they're more familiar with and feel better to them. On top of that, it's possible that the hammer itself is a little bit janky, like Jebra was talking about, that it's not exact. It didn't really...
Janky is a good word. Good description. It's one of those words, onomatopoeia, right?
The hybrid mix of range and melee, and the things it's trying to do a little bit too much, maybe.
Sorry, that wasn't to you. That was to the where we are in the story, in the dungeon. Sorry. Yeah, making good points.
Also,
keep going.
I saw in chat, and I just wanted to mention really quick, like, I hope that this whole conversation was prefaced by this is just the beta. Absolutely. Like, we've been talking about that a ton. We know things are going to, and this goes for everybody, things are going to be changed, things are going to be adjusted. This is not in any way, shape, or form the final, but part of this feedback process is literally giving feedback, right? Like, how do these things feel, which is why we have these discussions.
If you've
but this
never
goes for
been
everybody.
there,
Like, enjoy what you enjoy and
So
have
for
fun,
me-
and it'll be in development. So
So for me, I think the feedback I would give
Okay.
is, you know what, I like the skill 3 on hammer, and yes, I would prefer it to be like, because it's so interesting a mechanic, or should be so interesting a mechanic. I would prefer it to be not just tied to hammer, like you were saying, Rook. I prefer it to be part of the spec itself somehow. Let's just say it is stuck on hammer. Fine. The rest of hammer needs tweaks. It definitely feels like a lot of the skills feel like they want, because you know with the well you get quickness basically free in air. So you're
Who's
probably
got an
going to have
old-school
100%
mobile
quickness
phone?
uptime if you're playing this properly. So it feels like all of the hammer skills are tuned timing wise to if you always have 100% quickness. So it feels like all the skills are a little too slow.
Okay.
And on top of that, some of them are just not that useful. But overall, it's not that bad. Like if you had if all the hammer skills were tuned so that you had 100% quickness, but when you don't have, why is everybody dead?
I don't
What's going on?
know.
what's happening?
I could actually res you with my signet, which I do have. Like,
So yeah, I think the animations have to be
there we go. I'll try to
changed a
heal.
little bit on some of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to go over all 20 skills. I think I could have
No.
feedback for each skill and give like a little bit of feedback for each of them. But
Well,
I don't
here's
think
a
we could do
question. I mean, did people try? Wow, what the flip was that? That was just some
Kill
ultimate.
them by the wall.
I just got
Oh, by the
absolutely wrecked.
fire?
Can you res me? Res me.
Sick. Ooh.
It's Harry. It's
Hold
Harry.
up, hold up, hold up, hold up.
Oh no!
Ah, I was trying to get my
We
heal
all
down.
died.
What is the mechanic for this fight?
I don't know.
I hope you
Destroy
guys
the
light
wall of
the
ice.
braziers,
We
light
have
the
to destroy.
braziers. I think you have to light them.
Yeah.
I hope you guys
forgot.
appreciate that I got myself killed on purpose right at the beginning of the fight so that I could start talking.
Yeah, great
Thank
job.
you.
No, that's
Take
it.
it
That's what,
away.
like what I
So-
said earlier. It's just difficult to do. I'm trying to get used to.
Oh yeah, and another thing I feel like a little gripe, a little thing about the skill is that the well is, so if you don't use the hammer, all you really have is the well and the traits. And all the well does, and the well's good. I
We
like
have to
the
keep.
well for
We
the
have to not
idea
say
of
well
buffing a
though.
raid.
It's not a well.
Sorry, I like the sphere.
Because people will get confused.
I like
know
the
what'll
sphere
happen.
because, I mean, if you wanted to play it that way, if you wanted to be a boon buffer,
Yeah.
it could be very useful.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's pretty strong for quickness, for other for protection, for other boons. But when you're not doing that, when you're not doing that stand still, I'm buffing a raid that's standing still situation, it becomes much less useful. Like if you're doing general PvE and you have to move around, not that useful. If you're doing world
What do you
versus world,
think?
and have
Now
to
this
move
is
around.
where I was going to go, Boots. What do you think can be done to change that? Say it.
I think, okay, number one,
Go on.
I think that the recall of the well,
Okay.
right now, it removes all of your energy and puts it on its full cooldown.
Whoa! Why? Sorry, no,
Why
no,
is
not what
it
you're.
really
No.
Why,
We got absolutely annihilated. Sorry, I was like, what is that, Pete? What happened
the
there?
braziers, they're still not dead.
What the flipping hell? Sorry, mate. That was ridiculous. What was that damage? Jesus, this is story mode. Good Lord.
The ice ball is taking some damage though.
What?
We did-
Sorry, that was ridiculous. We all just got one-shotted. We need your help, Boots. I'm
So yeah, right now, when you recall the well,
Yeah.
it removes all of the energy you stored up and also puts it on a full cooldown. And I think that's way too punishing considering
Yeah.
in almost every game mode, people are just gonna move out of your well really quickly. And also, you want to be in your well for the buffs, and you can't just stay in that well in almost every game mode. You can't just stay there and do nothing. Especially if you're using hammer and you have to be in melee.
I was see,
Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to say something specific that you didn't say. I'm waiting for you to say it.
Oh, okay. Are you talking about the well in particular?
I'm talking about the sphere, yeah. What could be done instead because it's in place? That is literally was changed to one other class.
Oh yeah, you could make it so that it just follows you like a gyro.
There we
Or you
go.
could move it
Oh!
at will.
I don't like
I
gyro
prefer
idea.
Oh, the gyro idea is
I
awesome.
prefer that it's not
good.
like that. That you don't move it like it just moves it with
I
it.
think
with
there's
you
a
like
so
real
good, though.
simple answer to this. It's like the recall just recalls it to your current location.
Oh, I like that. There it is. Yeah.
I
Instead
don't
of
know.
destroying it, it just
No, I like the destroy. I
spawns
like
it.
the
The
destroy because I
orb-
like the idea that you can not have it anymore.
But the
No, but
orb
that-
is like a thing
If
which
it's the
follows
core to
you,
your
though.
kit and you have to spend so much time to build up that energy, I would never
Yeah.
destroy it.
But what if you don't want it and it just
Come through.
continuously drains energy from you and you want to get rid of it so you can store
But
that
you
energy
don't
for
use
later?
energy on anything
Yeah.
else, so you just attunement swap.
And honestly, I have more trouble, I think, having it active when I would even want to use it than like I don't even know in what world I would deactivate it at this point. To be completely honest.
Yeah, I have never said I'm gonna get more out of this if I destroy it.
I
Like
mean,
maybe if they worked something
that
in
could
where
be an
that
option
was,
with
like, it
trades.
was really
Yeah, why not?
worthwhile, or it like you
Absolutely.
could use it to sacrifice to boost some other element of the class, but like
I just think
Actually-
I think if you recall it, it shouldn't go on full cooldown. It should just go on like a 4-second cooldown or something.
yeah.
And on
Yeah,
top
yeah.
of that, it doesn't remove all your energy. It just removes a small amount of energy.
I think
And then
if you
reuse
had
it.
that play around it, I feel like you're right. I kind of like the idea that you have different options with it, rather than it's just that thing that you have on the ground, and then you can extend the boons, rather because it does feel really like you were kind of saying, like it is confused between, and like kind of everyone said as well, like. You know, if that's the core mechanic, like the gyro is the mechanic of Scrapper, you know, gyros are a thing, you know, maybe circulate the class a little bit more around that, because you've got loads of different things. You've got like in the traits, it's barely about that as well. Like it's a little bit about it, but it feels like, and then you've got, what is it called? The empowerment thingamajig, what's it called? I can't remember.
Elemental empowerment.
Yeah, elemental
Elemental
empowerment,
empowerment,
which
yeah.
is another thing on top of everything else, which we haven't even got to yet. It just feels like there's just, like when you all said like there's so much, I'm just thinking about it, there is so much
like
to
a
this.
lot happening.
Yeah, there's like, where do you even go? And I'm like, I'm not even playing with Hammer now because it's just too much. So I'd go, I am actually just staff trying to heal randomly at times.
It's tough because like on one hand, I don't again, because we talked about this in the past with elite specializations, I don't really mind if there is something, and I think we saw this with Bladeswron, right? Where I don't really mind if there is like a featured weapon for a class, for an elite specialization in particular,
Yeah.
that like is really important or intrinsic overall to the gameplay. Does that need to be the case for every single elite
No.
spec? No. But I don't mind if there are some that feature it, because so many times, I mean, the first one that came to mind for me was Dragon Hunter. I got Dragon Hunter back when I was like first starting the game. I was so excited. I got my bow, and while you can run whatever you want and do whatever you want in this game, I was so disheartened by so many people who were like, nobody would run bow on this. Terrible, terrible, awful. And I was like, but that's what I got with the elite spec. That's
Yeah.
what I was excited about it. Like, so it feels contrary to me when you do have a new elite spec that features a weapon, some new
Doesn't
addition,
feel good.
but then that weapon
Yeah.
ends up being something you never use.
It's
like,
weird, yeah.
So I don't mind if the hammer was something that was almost intrinsic to a playstyle and naturally dovetailed into the elite spec that it was introduced in, but it does need to work well with everything and cohesively in a way that, again, yeah, like it works together and it doesn't feel like it's way too much all at once, or like, you know. And I think you're right, like Jeb, it just does so much, and with where it is now, it feels like it doesn't quite. It feels like I'm constantly, somebody said earlier, and I loved this, trying to like spin a whole bunch of plates, and then I added on and I was like, but all the plates are covered in butter and they just keep slipping through my fingers and falling on the floor.
So Weaver in the other classes, and that's a good point, like talking about that, but what makes those classes work so well together? Like Weaver is literally like, and it always makes me think about ESO, because the term weaving is an actual term they use in there to use like light attacks, heavy attacks and abilities, but like, and weaving these abilities between, but like Weaver feels good because you can do that. Like there's a sense of, you know, having access to different skills and different attunements where you feel like, you know, this is relevant, this actually has a nice animation, it flows well as a class, whereas like I don't think. Have you died again on purpose?
No,
wait,
I
it comes to
again
res.
was in my dragon stance. I saw a bunch
okay.
of red circles on my body, and I was like, I'm not dodging. I'm just gonna wait here and wait until I get up to 10 ammunition.
Are we supposed
And
to be
if
doing
I
this?
die before that, so be it.
It's a boss, right? Okay. Good. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, I think the other classes just work so well. Like, Tempest is probably... Tempest is really good. Really good. Everyone's dead. No.
This has been a spicy one down here.
It's a flipping story
Dungeon's
mode.
difficult.
Story mode as well. This is what I mean.
Yeah,
Honor
I
of the
see
Ways back in the
chat's
day.
on,
We'll blame it on the elite specs.
Yeah. No. Chat's on a Dragon Hunter bow shenanigan. I've started something terrible here. I mean,
It's so
you
good in
can do
PvP.
anything. You can use any weapon. You can build anything. You know what I mean? That commentary was just specifically people who were looking at meta, who were then talking to me about it, right? So it's like, I have characters that I build out for RP purposes, and I put whatever weapon I want on there. I'm like, I just like this aesthetic. I just like this thing. Or there's a skill line or some kind of build you want to try. Like,
Yeah.
110%, you do whatever you want, right? It's very different, like, context and discussions within the idea of, like, optimization and technical culmination of a class, just how it is on paper theoretically versus, you know, what you enjoy and what you just want to build around or have fun with. But it does seem to be the case that for whatever design reasons, to allow players flexibility, or in some of these new ones that we've gotten to hone in on some kind of feature of a new weapon, it seems like they have been experimenting with ways that they can make those weapons unique. And in the case of the hammer, I think why I was so fixated again on this spiral ability is because that feels to me like that's the unique thing that dovetails into this
Absolutely.
class, not the hammer. So sorry, we've got sirens going by.
No, that's okay. No, I think, yeah, we've it's definitely the case. That is definitely the feeling. Like, other than that, like, I mean, what else is there? Oh, did you give us your general feeling? I don't even know if you gave us your general feelings yet on the class itself.
Proof will tell you in just a second.
What happened? What are we talking about?
Did you give us your general opinion, or like, I'm not sure now because we keep I feel like you started to and then we came away. I'm not sure.
Who?
Proof.
Oh, me.
Roof, okay.
Hi. Oh.
Roof.
So, yeah, Vindicator. I mean...
No. Catalyst.
I don't have Vindicator. Catalyst, yeah. I literally said Vindicator, but I was going to talk about the Catalyst. Well, so I agree with pretty much what everyone has been saying. It's a lot. It is... I think what makes Weaver so well... Weaver became really great, and so did Tempest, because it knew what it was doing pretty much from the get-go.
Right.
In the case of Catalyst, it's trying to do a lot in terms of different mechanics that has already been like brought to the Elementalist, with auras, with stances, which are augments, with these sphere mechanics, combos, of course. Is it a bruiser? Is it a group support with auras? Is it trying to be high damage, high condi? It's a little all over the place, to the point where it doesn't feel like you can really specialize in something. And when you take the full kit, when you try to specialize in it, it doesn't really work too well, particularly on the hammer. And I like that the hammer is slower cast times. And I think that is...
Oh, you like that?
I think there's a definite place in Guild Wars 2 where you have to prepare your abilities and try to... I'm sorry, my brain, I'm like trying not to die. There's definitely a place where you have slower cast time. But I think they have to design the weapon around that and give them better payoffs.
Yeah.
And so far with the Earth attunement in particular, Whirling Stones is like a 3.25 second cast time, but it doesn't do anything. It's not even a whirl combo. It's in the name, but it's not. And
yeah,
there's
that's
no bruiser
true.
application to it. I think it should apply some barrier, especially when you go into Earth.
Yeah.
You should be like, okay, I'm a bruiser, especially with the hammer, etc., etc. So I think the hammer needs an overhaul with the third ability. I would like to see that. And also bolstering those larger cast time spells.
More finishers, too.
I think they're fine on the finishers. I just don't think they have any access to combo
They
fields.
don't have the fields. Yeah, that's the
They should have
problem.
More finishers, too.
I mean, the start, like, if you play Catalyst with staff, it actually feels better. Like, it feels a lot better. Like with the
To be
auras and
honest,
stuff.
I don't know about the feels, because I feel like if you're playing hammer, it means you're playing catalyst, which means you have 100% opportunity to have a field.
Yeah, but only one
No.
field, and it's only
Not
in that
100%.
attunement, and it might not be the right field you want.
Almost. I mean, you
Well,
have the
even if
field
you-
available to you at any time as long as you have your energy.
That's the thing. So long as you are able to build that energy, which is not extremely easy right now. And even if you are out in the open world and you store your energy, like if you're at 20 and you're waiting for the 30-second energy and you're like, okay, there's a boss fight coming, I'm preparing. If you have over 10 energy, it will degen back to 10. So it already automatically puts you at a deficit. Additionally, with the spheres, interestingly, it's connected to the attunement cooldown. So when you attunement swap, you cannot actually activate that sphere instantly. You have to wait for it to come off its internal cooldown, which makes comboing and getting use out of those those fields.
So
that's
I'm not, but
funky.
what I'm saying is I don't think the issue is you not enough fields on the hammer. I think the issue is the sphere functionality with the energy needs to be improved.
Well, yes, but because it's not entirely accessible, I mean, if they do improve it, it would possibly improve combo opportunity.
Yeah.
But because it's so ingrained in the minor traits, I think having one combo field on, say, like water to help sustain yourself a little bit better, because it's been kind of advertised that this is more of a bruiser, you know, be able to stay.
But you
sustain in
have
the
a
fight.
field in water. You like is the
Only
water
if you have the
sphere
sphere.
a water
And
or is it
it's the sphere, yeah.
nice-
And
It's a water sphere.
Yeah.
It's only
But-
the
I
sphere,
I do want
right?
to take
I
a second
don't
just to
think it's
say,
as
good
great.
riddance. Get out
No,
of
I
here.
know.
This
I know.
boss. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Continue.
It's okay. We just needed to not stand in the AoE. We were standing in way too many red circles, and I was just like, I've got staff. Why am I doing this? What
I
am
don't
doing?
think I attacked the boss.
Yeah, you've been on the floor most of the time.
I think I was just standing still for a while there.
I think with any core weapon, I think this is also something that we might not. With weapons, especially like dagger, staff, you have access to a combo field and blast finishers.
Well, there's
or
actually two
projectiles.
on
With the
the
hammer,
staff
you
as
do
well.
not
Yeah.
have any access to a field. So that's why people are using dagger, because you can lay down those fields and then combo in it with water dagger 3.
Yep.
Makes sense.
So hammer is so much weaker in the combo department. And on top of that, if you're playing catalyst, you have the field and the combos and also the access to the F5.
Yeah, that's why I'm using staff right now, literally because of water 2 fields, and I got the blasts on the same weapon and arcane like utilities. It's like and I've got the water field as well. Actually feels really good. I haven't tried damage. I'm just doing support, like, kind of. But I would agree. I think if you can get this field up more, then like what Boots is saying, then that may not have even been a thing, because then it's essentially like this would have just been an extension of your kit, right? It's just an on-call field. I feel like maybe you could.
I feel like the sphere is supposed to be that. It's supposed to be a field that you have access to almost all the time.
Right.
So that's why I don't think the hammer needs a field. But I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but like no, it does. It does. I think it does. I
Because
think
you're not going to
that's-
take the hammer if it doesn't have one field. You're going to use any other weapon.
If it had more finishers, you would
But I think
Not necessarily, because all the other weapons have finishers.
have finishers. But what if the hammer had what if the whirling rocks was a world finisher? What if
That
the
world, it should be. It should
What
be.
if the tornado was also a world finisher?
Well, if it was,
Yeah.
that would make sense. Yeah. So
That'd be
it,
great.
so that's the
what
identity.
If, what if the shooting those projectiles after you do the sphere, the orb thing? What if that shooting projectile was a projectile finisher? Like there, a lot of
They should all be these
possible
things.
finishers on that weapon.
They should all be that thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
They really should, because then that's probably what's missing. I would say, because we are going to move on to the other class soon after we've done this, but like. I would. Oh, we are going to go. We're going to go onto it. We are going to go onto it. Yeah, because I feel like we're harping on one thing, and we probably all agree.
We're like, hey,
we agree with each other.
And I mean, honestly, the thing is that all of this to say, I can see so much potential for this class.
Yes.
Like, I think there is so much that's so good about it, honestly. I do love the aesthetic. I love what they were reaching for trying to do here. I think there is something that they can find and hone and really make cool about this class. if it comes together in that way, this might become one of my new favorites to play. It's just that right now it feels like, and I guess rightfully so, since it is maybe one of the ones this go around that just has the most happening for it. Like, there's just so much stuff. To me, it feels like it needs, I like how you put it, Kroof, on social media, it's a little more time in the cooker. Like, it just needs a little bit more time to kind of like just get finessed to exactly what it needs to be. And if that means that they're able to make all these elements work together, I think that'd be incredible. Did you get it? Elements is like a element.
Yeah, good one.
Wow.
But if they have to drop some things or streamline some things, I would be okay with that too. I honestly like the idea of the hammer and the orbs and the fields and everything interplaying together. I think the hammer's a cool weapon and would be really great to sort of have unique things, like you were saying, even adding some of those finishers or some other stuff that would make it a really great pick for this, you know, whatever you were thinking about using as your weapon. So I hope they can get it there, because I think the concept here is fantastic, but it is more complex. And there's just more to deal with in this, like, that they need to kind of let cook a little longer and sort of see how it works and then what the feedback was from all of this.
Yeah, I think your final assessment of it needs a little bit cooking time is absolutely correct. I think though that when you say that there's a lot to it, I'm less in agreement with you, because I feel like
That's fine.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot to the
Boots
hammer.
is disagreeing
and, like, because it's 20 new skills, it's
someone.
hard to get a hold of. What was that? Sorry, Jebro?
No, it's just Boots is disagreeing with someone. This doesn't actually happen that often.
This never happens.
So I'm
yeah.
actually someone needs to clip this.
I think that the hammer, 20 new skills, obviously is going to be hard to get a hold of, and like even I think unless you're like a pro Ellie player, I don't know if anybody has the right like I don't think I probably have the right idea of what needs to be changed on the hammer to make it good, or if it isn't good right now anyway. Like I think we need more time with the hammer to say that it's not.
I think you can have
great.
you don't need to be like a high level Ellie player to be like, this feels shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you can definitely
But
be, and you know enough about the game to.
I think that besides the hammer having 20 new skills, there isn't that much extra to the class. Like I feel like the coolest thing about the class is that combo trait, and that's just like one thing. Everything else about the trait system for the catalyst is just like percentage buffs to all your stuff, and that's great. So like you could be a slightly more powerful core Ellie if you're not using your hammer, and a very more powerful core Ellie, really, but it's like not that intricate, you know.
I think when you start looking at the utility skills, it becomes much more intricate.
Okay. Well, what do you mean, Griff?
Well, I guess this is a nice segue to the utility
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So,
Well, this is a good way of like talking
Catalyst
about it. Yeah.
gains augments.
Okay.
Right, the augments. I forgot about
Well,
I
this is
forgot
the
it had
thing.
utility skills.
This is the actual thing. Like, this is the problem. This is the innate problem with the class, and this is the thing. Like, there are so many things. There is no importance on one thing. So it's like, what are you doing? I completely forgot they were called flipping augments for about 10 minutes, like in the entire
Well, they really
conversation.
just should be called stances.
That's right. Like,
Except
Kroof,
they
what
have
do you
cast
think
time,
about
so
that?
they can't be called stances.
Like, Kroof, what do you think about that?
Cantrips are not supposed to have a cast time, but Ether Renewal does, and so does Tornado.
Yeah, that's true. But
Yeah,
like,
I guess so.
but this is the thing. Like, could that have been called like Kroof says? Like, it could have been called something else. It could have been called like a gadget. We talking about gadgets the other day as well? Or we talking about
we'll talk about that with the
that was
Bladeswron.
that was Bladeswron.
But in the case of augments, it is a little disappointing on the newness aspect of it, because it's not new. However, the functions of the augments do create more complexity, which ends up, bloating it even further.
Right.
So I would have liked to have seen something else other than augments. Honestly, when they said wells in the trailer, I was like, oh, we're getting wells as utilities.
That's what
and
I
that
thought.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
But so currently the augments are very, very underwhelming and are very difficult to activate because they are heavily reliant on the sphere. And similar to glyphs, but also not similar. They are bound. Each utility is bound to a specific attunement. So it's not like glyphs where you are swapping them and the glyph changes. However, you do gain a special feature if you are in that attunement and have the sphere up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Is there anyone who, I mean, essentially, like, and if you're listening to this, sorry, you're watching this and you're thinking, and you don't know what augments are or what they do, they're on utility skills, and if you're watching, I'll pull these out as well. But they're supposed to, and what Griff is saying, they work, they're like a combo in themselves. You combo them with, they're not a blast finish or anything, they're just a combination with your sphere that you throw out. So if you use, for example, like Relentless Fire, which is the utility here, with your orb, with your sphere, sphere, round thing. Jesus Christ.
The floating ball in the air.
Yeah, that's it. Let's read it. It says, your attacks and conditions deal increased damage if this is cast within range of your fire sphere. Your attacks are also unblockable, which is cool.
But it's yeah.
But
And it's 1 stack of unblockable.
yeah. Is it
so
1
I think-
stack as well?
Oh, that's also that's.
I thought it was
another
on.
one.
It says 5 seconds though. Is that
But
just
it
the
only
5
triggers
seconds
on 1
window?
hit.
It's just the 1 hit.
Really? Does it really? Is that?
Is that?
Wow.
Remember
have you
they
tested?
changed unblockable back in the day where it's now a stacking buff?
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
than-
yeah.
Oh, God,
So
yeah,
it's
I
only
forgot
one
about that.
stack, really?
It only says 1 stack.
Oh boy. So
Yeah, that's bad.
So the
Sorry.
first thing you can change with augments to make them slightly better is that
Good.
it doesn't matter that you cast it while you're in that attunement.
Yeah.
It only matters if you are in that attunement while the stance is up or the augment is up.
Yes.
So that's the first thing that they could change to make it slightly more usable.
I actually like that sphere changes when you move, change achievements.
Yeah, because the sphere itself changes attunement when you change
It's
attunement.
nice actually.
So
good.
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, it's cool.
I feel like the Earth augment's pretty good, right?
Yes.
That one's fun as well. That's like a good defensive. Like that's cool. I like enjoying that. And also when you put the thing down on the ground, like Rick said, you got a tail. I mean, who doesn't like a tail? Honestly.
I just love these animals. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Sorry.
again, when you think about something that visually is distinctive about a class, for me it's those animals with this one, right? Like,
Yeah.
so get my eyeballs on them as much as possible. Give me as much to do within those fields as possible, because I think that is what is distinctive to me, just from a not at all technical standpoint about this class. But magic elemental animals, yes.
See,
Thank you.
Yeah.
maybe
I will
that
take
could have been more of the feature of these utilities there. Maybe the animals, because again, like there's animals inside these flipping things.
just a
like
little
there's
flavor,
nothing,
yeah.
but it's cool. But like they could have done something where they linked the utility to
They've done a
that
lot.
creature as well. If they're gonna combo it in there, like maybe have the icons as these things, just go with that
True,
theme. They could have really, rather than the actual character, play a character there because it looks like a human, and just have like the different animal that it represents inside that, and maybe have that more representative of what it is, because the turtle is still the block thing, having more block, having the barrier and stuff. That makes sense. Turtle shell, hello.
Possibly
don't
one of
know.
the reasons I forgot
Could've
that
been
they had a utility skills, the catalyst, is this is a problem I think we've had with a few of the elite specs so far. Are there any traits that affect augments?
No.
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah. So,
Nor the weapon.
nor the weapon. I mean,
Oh.
when you think about it, it's like
Chlorophyll
The
mag.
weapon
weapon's
is
already
part
so
of it.
beefy.
Come do
Yeah.
chlorophyll mag. There you
Yep.
go. Up right now.
So for augments, I was initially under the impression that augments would be affecting the sphere that you have. And instead it is just affecting yourself. And that's possibly why I was a little disappointed and felt like they were just
it
doing
has to
rehashed
work
stances.
with the sphere for it to work
You
on
work
yourself.
with them, but
Yeah.
I think the rock barrier thing would be more interesting if you have the earth sphere up, instead of you just gaining barrier, and now the sphere pulses barrier over its duration of the stance
Yeah.
to better focus and highlight and maybe empower the already underpowered spheres.
Yeah, I would have liked. So I tell you what, I would have liked with the animals and the spheres and stuff. It would just like been some crazy like not crazy. Sorry, using that word. Using some awesome like combination on you, and you just got this turtle shell on your back when you got barrier and stuff, or like when you
That would've
used.
been cool.
How cool would that have been? Like if you go onto the fire and then you change and you've got the sphere, you use it and you get these wings coming out of your back, and then suddenly you've just getting this might stacking every so often. Like, it could have been something really simple that would have just been really like visually cool to look at, and also just giving you boons or something simple. Like I feel like that could have just been something they did. Instead, this was just like an activate, like in, I don't know, like in any class which augments your skills, and it could have just been something which added rather than this extra thing that you have to worry about. Because I feel like this could almost be 2 elite specs sometimes as well. Do you
I
know
really
what
was
I
like,
mean?
that's why I'm like the orb mechanic on the spheres with the augments and
Yeah.
some attention to aura and comboing. I think it's not specialized, for lack of better words. It's not specializing into a particular area of gameplay.
Well, that's
Yeah.
because they want you to play Celestial Armor.
Yeah, a Celestial's
Yeah, they want
fine,
you to be
but
even more
I don't want to be
confused.
actually playing a full Celestial build where I'm having to heal and apply boons and defend myself and do damage and do Conti damage.
You gotta do it.
I don't think
This
this
is the
event's
most
gonna...
elementalist of all elementalist specs.
Rough.
I think this is gonna
Yeah, it
be
would
rough.
have been
actually.
neat if-
About the elites.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just
I'm
saying this
actually,
is
I
gonna be
think the
rough.
elite instead of boons, that should be aura application.
Okay.
That should be like a standard aura access, because boons, it's boring. It's just more might, really just more protection that I already get in the
Yeah, but you
sphere.
get the
if I
wings
use
on
it
your
in
face.
the earth sphere.
I
Your
would
wings on your
say
back and
that
stuff.
because that minor trait with the auras is the most interesting thing about the spec, or at least about the traits, they really went heavy on the stacking your elemental empowerment thing. I think they need to have at least one more trait that does something with auras besides the elemental empowerment trait. Because yeah, all the other like a lot of the other trait lines have aura functionality, and I think that's great. I think just one more trait that does something with auras in the trait line would be great.
Is there anything you'd like to see with auras?
Okay, well you already get. Oh, hold on a second. They have when you get an aura, you get.
Oh, there's
stability.
auras as well. Like auras are a big thing in this. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Like what the
That's why I'm like,
flipping
they're not
Jesus?
so
There's
super.
another thing.
You have two. You have
So
the
much
minor
fun.
trait, and you have stability on aura, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
for
And
PvP.
reduced damage and increased.
That is
damage.
very much like the flamethrower trait. If you can get constant access to auras, that
It would be
is.
great if the stability on aura wasn't when you get an aura, you get stability. If it was when you apply aura, it gets stability.
That might be a bit
'Cause then
much.
You get that
Might be
functionality
strong.
with.
It'd be
I
too
mean,
strong. You can get constant auras on there if on this build if you try. If you really try, you can get almost constant auras, especially if you go with conjured weapons, which is build I came out with. It was
Is giving a
very
group
interesting.
100% uptime of stability too strong?
Yeah, that's what they wanted to get away with. Get away from having that kind of thing going on. They went for less stability in PvP competitive modes because it's too strong. Because you could
Alright,
then
fine.
knockdowns and push downs
Fine.
and not like interrupts weren't a thing. And that's why they made knockdowns and everything else with no damage. So they were just impactful. They were actually useful. They changed a lot of the game.
What's the okay? Wait, someone says the entire top line is auras. I'm not on Catalyst right now. What is the adept for?
me
Reduce
just check.
damage by 2%, but you can stack it 5 times so long as you get to 5 auras.
Oh, wait. When you get to 5 auras. Oh yeah, when you cast 5 auras.
So yeah, if you apply 5 auras to yourself, you'll be taking 10% less damage.
Oh, okay. All right. Never mind then. You're right. There's
Yeah,
enough stuff
because
with auras in there.
I just think because
It's
all of
weird.
those traits require you to stack the auras, the core kit really struggles applying a lot of auras to itself.
Yeah, you can't. I mean,
So you're saying it needs more finishers.
I think it just
You
needs
don't
the elite to add a
necessarily-
little extra aura application
Yeah.
for more consistency.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
currently the hammer, it's a chance to apply aura on Earth 4. The only consistent true thing is if you do combo in a sphere.
Yeah. So does it come back down to then just, you know, adjusting that and making the uptime more and the cooldown lower? But like, you can get auras. There are more ways you can get auras. Like you can and you can share them with your allies and stuff. But you have to go outside of the hammer, which is what then you're going outside of the core of what this, which is fine because there's loads of elite specializations which do that. And maybe that is okay that you can be like, oh well, I'm gonna res all these people because I'm a flipping hero.
Yeah.
But
Is
like,
there an aura that doesn't have a flip over skill available on a weapon set?
What do you mean?
So you know how all auras, the transmutes. All auras, like you have a frost aura on Jagger.
Yeah.
That you could transmute and get your heal off of. You have the lightning aura that you transmute also on Dagger, and you get the stun off. Earth shield, or is it Earth shield? No. It's Wait, can you transmute magnetic shield on anything? Yeah, on staff. On staff. Fire aura is on was on your focus. What else is there? Ice aura? Frost aura. Wait. Frost aura. Yeah, Frost aura is the one I talked about that. I mean, there's Chaos aura, but I don't think they have a transmute for that, do they?
No.
Yeah. Darkness, light, but Elementalists won't do that, so never mind. I guess they can't give an exclusive one to the hammer that way, can they?
I think that's
No, and that's why they went with the hammer Earth 4, where you can gain any one if you are in that attunement while the block is up.
Yeah. Okay.
I have never barely. I think I just got it. I think I just got an aura. I don't know. What's the if you block an attack, gain an aura based on the current achievement? Okay. That's quite cool. I mean, I barely ever. I'm running around using it for fun because it looks cool.
But I think because it is bound to Catalyst, I know you can go to other weapons and utilities and traits and all that stuff to gain more aura application, but not to
like
struggle
fire.
to get to around 2 or 3 stacks of auras on the Catalyst while it being its trait line. I don't think is successful and should be the case. I think if it's coming with the elite spec, you should at least have access to stack up to 3 of those traits. Perhaps it does allow you to, value Tempests a little bit more. And I think that's fine, but whenever I've played Catalyst, I've only really been able to get around 1, maybe 2 stacks of those aura traits.
That's interesting. Yeah, because Tempest has aura traits as well. It has the heal aura trait. And the way it gets its auras is, yes, you have some weapon skills that could do it, but at the same time you have your utility skills that give auras. Is it treading too far over Tempest identity to do the same thing for Catalyst?
This is why this is the Tempest Weaver combo, and I was really disappointed in this.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a much bigger. They would have to do a lot of we'd have to see a lot of specific buffs, and I think that'd be a much bigger discussion to have when we have one we haven't even broken down yet. I don't think that right now the way it is that I feel like this is a huge threat to anything that already exists in the game. But I mean, we have to see when they actually fine-tune some of this or figure out what they want to do specifically with it. Because there are just so many directions I think they could take it in aspects or elements of this elite specialization that they might want to hone in on or buff. And what they choose to do with that, I think, will probably lead to a bigger discussion of, are any of the other elite specializations in danger of, being dethroned with this? But I don't necessarily feel that right now. And even if they were still able to do a mix of things where it wasn't as good as either of those at the things, but could do both, it just has to be a satisfying mix, and it has to be tuned just right so that everything comes together and has its place in the universe.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the idea of giving Catalyst its own little bit of identity with its auras if you gave it access to those 3 auras that it doesn't usually have access, that Elementalist doesn't have access to? If you somehow gave it...
I was thinking about that too, and I think
Chaos,
that's
Dark,
really
and
cool.
Light.
I mean, that would be cool. And I think with Catalyst, it would make sense that you're the catalyst to do other things. And the idea almost being that you would, in theory, be putting a whole bunch of stuff together that would cause effects. So like just based off of that, if they had more interplay specifically off of these jade spheres and the puddles and the things you were doing in it and the combos and the auras that could result, like if they tied that all together, I think it'd be pretty cool if they added those extra ones, or if you did it just right, you know, you could combine everything to cause a bonus effect with one of those or
Oh
something.
man, imagine if you were able to give yourself every single aura, and then when that happens, you become a supreme being.
You gain a new aura.
You get a
Well,
new
maybe
aura.
you
Like,
could-
Oh, and then you get the prismatic aura that Irene gives you in the story, and it does something
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, maybe you could do something
Wait,
like that.
hire me.
Like if you got all of those components up, right, and you got all those different auras overlapping or whatever, and then you were able to morph them into something, that to me would also fit with the actual theming of this class, catalyst, right? Like you
Yeah.
were layering these things to become a catalyst to do something else. And I think it would work with what they have, even with the hammer, right? Like with these circling orbs. If in theory, if you can get them all up together and use them all, right? Like if you were able to have effects that were based off of synthesizing a whole bunch of stuff and then causing this catalyst reaction, that would be neat. It's not there right now.
Okay, so before the Lightbringers podcast takes off into outer space, apparently, I think we're going to go and
Probably.
talk about the last class.
you said
Yes.
space jet, bro. You know what that means.
I know, that's why I said it. I always think about that.
And then, whoa, I like these ideas, guys.
Okay,
But yes, Bladeswron.
okay. Last class. Let's go. I'm going to go and log on to it
do it.
now.
There's another class? What?
There's one more,
There is
I
one more.
know.
I think so.
They
Weirdly,
ramble
this
about
one-
a single one.
This one is much happier for me.
I honestly don't remember anything I just talked about with Catalyst.
Go watch
I'm
the
pretty
VOD.
sure anything I said didn't make any sense.
It
And-
made
feel that
great
every day.
sense.
First of all, what are we going to go do? You want to do a frat again?
Uh,
Do you want to do some open
do
world?
hero points or
I mean,
I'm gonna climb this mountain.
nice to
Blam,
run
blam,
through
blam,
something.
right.
jumping
know, I'm gonna-
crystals.
I'm gonna swap too. I'm gonna swap to my Blamerai. This is what I'm
Oh, I'm
calling
gonna stop the
this class.
catalyst.
I really should have.
Pick a dungeon. Pick a dungeon that's fun but not too hectic.
Twilight Arbor.
Ooh.
All right, yeah, let's do that one.
Yeah. Okay.
We could talk to some
It can be
slightly
quite
emo
can be
plants.
a little
Very.
saucy sometimes, but it should be fine. I'm gonna play my heal Bladeswron. Yes.
That's
Interesting.
exciting.
Mhm.
Shout healer.
Oh, this is what Boots and Griff were talking about ages ago. Yeah.
Yeah, good for PvP, kind of. The heal Bladeswron.
Yeah, otherwise, like, why would you run it? There's just no reason. It's just like, there is legitimately no reason why. Oh, wait. Where am I going now? I'm going the
Everybody
wrong
went
way.
the wrong way.
I went the wrong way.
Yeah.
I went to the south. Okay. There we go. Yeah, so I went with line-wise. I went Bladeswron, Discipline, Tactics, and then went with lower maximum charge level. It re-enters Dragon Trigger if you pay. I'm not sure why I went with that
We
actually.
did discipline tactics.
Yeah. What was it for? What was the reason?
Discipline's
Oh no!
not
Wait.
that impressive on a Bladesworn, because one
Oh,
of the
yeah.
things about a Bladesworn is they took, like we talked about, they took so much away from how warrior works.
Yeah.
They removed bursts from other weapons on warrior.
Think I
So
messed this up.
basically, if you're Bladesworn, 99% of the time you're just using your gunblade. So you
Yeah.
know, fast hands, not that useful. The burst mastery's not so bad though.
Yeah, I think I'm
Where are you guys?
looking at the wrong. I think I just changed this build and I've changed it into the wrong thing. Yeah, that's it. I was going for defense, wasn't I? I don't know why it's changed that. Was it defense? I can't remember.
Yeah, bro, did you follow the quote unquote discussion in your comment section of the last Lightbringers about Bladesworn?
Dude, there's so many comments on stuff at the moment.
That
I'm,
is-
I'm just
Do you
like,
remember
what
this
do I
particular-
needle
do?
in the haystack?
I know that you are talking a lot in there, yes.
There's somebody who was
As long as you be nice.
very
to each other.
upset about what Bladesworn about our thoughts about Bladesworn, I think.
Oh no!
People are
Yeah,
upset
yeah.
about people
Who is
talking
it?
about things in a podcast. Good lord.
So
That's
when
never
I
happened.
said that the shout heals
Right.
and the fact that the elite skill reloads all the shout heals as well, I said that I think that's going to be pretty strong. This person was
I don't
not
think
in
you
agreement.
said. Did you give any? I think
no.
did they go on to say? I think you were talking about PvP though, weren't you? Or were you? I
Yeah.
can't remember.
In the end, I think they just were slightly overreacting about a few things.
Yeah, that never happens either.
But yeah, I think Bladeswron isn't quite as bad as some people think it is, but it's not as good as it could be. In PvP. In PvE, holy shit, it does too much damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I
you
was
can
gonna say,
stand there.
everybody, the vast majority of people I've talked to seem to feel very positively about this one, overall, and how it feels and plays of the three. And I gotta say, it's pretty fun. It actually came together in a way too, because I think one of the concerns we had from our initial reactions too was just the fact that like not being totally sure how those two individual meters worked and how everything came together. But I actually do think that it flows really well, and that everything within it, to me, makes sense. And like as soon as I got my hands on it, I
Are
was
we
like,
in a dungeon?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
we did go into the dungeon.
Oh my god! I've been standing outside.
I just walked in. And
Just
and
sorry,
just
just
walked
sorry.
in.
Continue.
Okay.
No, that's pretty much it. I just think it flows well. I felt like it built on itself well. My big comment from it earlier was that I think it's really neat. Neat is such a toss-out token word. But I actually think
It's so neat.
an interesting concept. I don't know why I've been on the neat train lately. I think it's an interesting concept that in a game that is so fast-paced, so action-oriented, to have a class where a pivotal moment is built around a moment of stillness is something that I love. I love that little subversion. And I actually even like the barriers. I like having them and being able to set them up and make your little moment so that, the stage is set and you can sit there like for ages. Like, I think it's fun. And it
good
didn't
for
feel
roaming,
too
yeah.
long. It didn't feel too punishing yet. I feel like this one has been enjoyable.
As for my first impressions, Bladeswron is the complete opposite of Catalyst, but in the similar vein where Bladeswron successfully executed that slower playstyle that I think Catalyst is trying to go for with the hammer. And it's because of those big payoff moments. The dragon trigger skills in PvE are so juicy. In PvP and in World vs. World, we can talk about that if we want to go into more competitive territory, but it's much weaker in that area. However, open world, I've had a lovely time with Bladeswron.
So the one issue though with that is it is going to get nerfed because it's currently doing almost 60k DPS in raids, and that's PvE. And that's PvE. So what they're going to do to nerf that most likely is just that one skill. They're going to reduce.
I think is fine.
Which is fine. They're going to reduce the damage it can do. It's not going to do 500k anymore. It'll do 300k for each hit, right? So they're going to reduce that particular skill by 30%, let's say. And so you're still going to have a huge payoff because I think by yourself in general PvE, I think you're still going to be able to do like 100 to 200k damage if you're lucky. With those payoff skills, and I think that's all you could really ask for in PvE.
Yeah.
PvE.
I'm still gonna be able to one-shot things, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh
exactly.
god. Yeah, I remember I was in a bit of Frost Frontier, and I didn't really try too hard to make the most damage I could, but I was hitting things for over 100k damage, and I was like, this is a bet, and I was like, whoa, they felt quite fun in that respect, I guess. But then I was like, what is this going to be in a real environment? But it felt nice. The one thing I do like on the weapon, it definitely was one of those things where I feel like CMC is so like he knows so much about the game, like that there are times where I feel like he doesn't explain the basics of the things very well. I love CMC to death, but like I feel like there was a missing explanation of how you like how does this work. So like anyone that's listening or watching, like there is a main mechanic where you have this gun saber, right? And you literally click the button. Like when you get in combat, you cannot swap between your main weapons, but you still technically have like a swap. Like you go into gun saber by pressing your F1, shift 1, whatever key it is. You get 5 new abilities, and then you can get into another weapon. Essentially you've got 3 different sets, really, and you can actually, there is a little bit of mobility, but you are kind of really stuck in this. There's a little bit of the port. You've just got to be careful that you do not move at all, otherwise you come out of it at times, and it just takes a bit of getting used to, but like, and then you can switch back into sword. So essentially you've actually got 3 different kits of weapons. Like, you've got, you know, the gun saber itself, you've got your original core set of weapons, and then you've got this, you know, what is it called, the dragon trigger as well, which is another 5 set of weapon like abilities, which I feel like, you know, for warriors is completely new. So I'm wondering about, like, you know, what that might have felt like, actually, because I don't play warrior often. I play engineer, so I'm used to having like different kits all the time, like literal kits. So I don't know, like, do you think that's quite cool that they've got access, or do you think like the trigger is really like, is it more of just like, it feels like more of an end to a combo maybe, or it's just this build up of damage that you're kind of just throwing up and it's not really a massive kit? Like, I'm just wondering about people's thoughts about that, I suppose.
Like how we feel about the dragon trigger itself.
Yeah,
like
about having it all together, because you've got these 3 different kits. Yeah, all together, I guess, like the synergy between those, because we were talking about like elementalist, because in a way, like, there is a lot more kit to this, and I can see why they actually took out the weapon swap, because I feel like you may have been a bit too much, because I feel like you're almost getting to elementalist levels in terms of skills that you could have used.
Yeah, but a warrior deserves that, and I feel like they should still. They deserve to have all the skills at their disposal. I still am a little bit. I'm still a little bit down on the fact that they did remove weapon swap, and then on top of that, remove the burst skills from your offhand weapon. Like, if you're not playing Daring Dragon, the Grandmaster trait for Bladeswron that says when you use your burst on your gunblade, if you pay a little bit extra flow, you get to use it right away. If you're not using that trait, you're gonna have way more flow than you ever need for a Bladeswron, unless you're doing like you know, a raid where you're gonna use your burst every 5 seconds or 10 seconds as it is. So you have, especially for PvP, you have way more flow than you're ever gonna need, and I feel like you need some kind of outlet for it. And the fact that they removed your burst from your offhand weapon, your non-gunblade weapon, I feel like it removed another outlet of using that burst, using your flow. And on top of that, it kind of really disincentivizes people from ever swapping weapons back to their normal warrior weapons. And I guess I get that that's really what I guess they're trying to do for this spec, which is you are now a samurai warrior with a gunblade. That is what you are. You're no longer a warrior, where you get to use many different weapons and have fun with them. You are just this thing. And if that's what they're trying to go for, they did it.
I don't think
you're not gonna want to swap to your other weapon ever.
I mean, maybe that's a good point, I guess. Like, I mean,
but it really like genericifies or like homogenizes all gun blades, is what I'm saying. All Bladesworns.
I think absolutely every single point you made is valid. Like, honestly, while
But
no. I mean, like, here's the thing: you can have 2 opinions that I believe are just absolutely both valid.
You
like,
can have valid,
and I
all
agree with
opinions
you.
are valid.
I do think that it has homogenized it. Now, like, the one part where I think I was like, is that I don't necessarily know if the identity of a warrior, and although within Guild Wars 2, right, it is meant to be a master of many weapon styles. That's supposed to be kind of the establishing lore, that it is somebody that can use all these different, you know, things to essentially wage war or wage battle. But I think there is also something to be said about a warrior who is a very dedicated practitioner, right? Somebody who excels so greatly at one thing that
that's fair.
They themselves have become a true master, a warrior in that sense of this particular style, right? So, like, for me, I don't know if I feel like it completely destroys everything about warrior ever, which I don't think you were necessarily implying.
No, I'm not saying that. Yeah.
I've seen other people, you know, who are just like, this is totally against what warriors are, and I'm like, well, but warriors come in many ways, shapes, and forms. You know, there's many practices and many dedicated arts, and so like, I don't mind that. But you're right in that I do think it does limit more what you're gonna see from this class.
And to be honest, it kind of ends up that way with almost every elite spec in the end, anyway, because after like a year of playing the elite specs, the meta shakes out and people tend to only play 1 or 2 builds with a certain elite spec. So if it just happens that we're set up with one build of using a gunblade for the Bladeswron to begin with, we're just, you know, skipped ahead a year, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I want to see on elite specializations. Mixing up and creating a different feel for a class. And I think introducing a whole new weapon, not necessarily one that you equip, but just like as the core profession mechanic, that is so exciting, not only for the Bladeswron, but also future elite specializations. And I think the Bladeswron did it very, very well. And I think they only allow you to use those burst skills in the Dragon Trigger because they set it up to be balanced like that, because they are so strong in PvE right now. And of course, you know, balancing later nerfs are probably going to come, but they wanted you to really feel that impact of a totally new gun saber. And I think it plays very well. It feels very fluid. The core weapon abilities on gun saber, not talking about the Dragon Triggers, but the core skills are really lovely to use. You have range access, you have a little bit of projectile defense and, you know, gap closers. It feels like you can be a presence in battle still. But the Dragon Triggers, that's where things get really, really fun and differentiate it from really any other combat class in Guild Wars 2 right now. Because you do have to like stand still and take a moment to think about your positioning. Are you going to use those Aegis stacks that you have when you are preparing the Dragon Trigger? Are you going to flicker step and, you know, gain some different distance or a different angle? So there's a lot of preparation behind it.
Flicker step is super cool, by the way. I actually really love that they put that in there. I wasn't expecting that they would have, just from what, like, you know, the glimpse that I had kind of seen, I wasn't expecting that there would be something where you could use that, or you could have, you know, the Aegis without breaking your stance. I thought this stance was going to be far more punishing. And while, I mean, of course, it is still a moment of pause, and it is still in and of itself something you have to be careful not to break, I think that they gave you, like, just the right amount of agency within it to not feel like, you know, you've been put in timeout. Like, I like that you can still do different things to respond while you're, like, planning and you're in that moment.
Ooh.
Yeah. We all just got really interested in the game.
No, I'm
like,
listening.
oh god,
I'm
have I
for...
said something terrible?
This is me.
I don't know anything. I'm so sorry.
Today is my day. Like, I'm trying to let you lot all talk as much as possible, and I'm just running. I'm running the conversation today because my opinions are all the same as everyone else's at the moment as well. I think, like, just thinking about the different builds I've been playing, and Rick, you're talking about the utilities, and I think I was definitely on the side of, yeah, I'm not sure about these utilities and being so close to kind of engineer and some other classes and stuff. When you do, yeah, and how it could have just, I really want them to do this more. I would love them to do it. I don't really see a need for them to have called these armaments at all. I mean, I get that it's kind of a thing with guns. I understand that, but like, why didn't you just call it a gadget and get a rune set and add some other gameplay to the game? I mean, like, it just feels weird that wasn't a thing. I don't know. I mean, it's fine that it's called an armor. That doesn't really concern me that much. I just feel like, you know, that I thought they were going along this line of like getting all the classes the weapons, getting all the classes the different utility kind of style, so they can have different runes and stuff. And I was like, oh, that could have just been like that, like Cruz said last week as well. It's like, yeah, that's a really good point. So how do people put it? Does it matter? Does it actually matter that much?
I don't
or
think
is
it matters that much.
Okay.
I think it does, because I'm in Jebber's
Great.
camp where I would have loved to have seen more runes
Oh,
in
okay,
the
I see what you're
game.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And particularly for utility types that don't have a rune right now.
And gadgets don't.
To-
Like,
to
don't
then
So
say
we
what would you
have
have called it if not ornament?
gadget room.
Just a gadget. I mean, you're throwing down barriers that
Yeah.
expand. You're throwing down an
Okay.
electric fence. You're giving yourself a stim pack. So it's very gadget-esque. And they literally on the live stream, they were like, we create different utility categories when it doesn't fit or there isn't one. And I was
Right,
like,
okay.
but there's gadgets right there. Did you forget about the
Yeah.
gadgets?
I went from healer and I changed.
They are basically gadgets. You're right.
I mean, and they're literally like, you know, it just makes sense. And even though, like, you know, it's similar to something else, doesn't mean it has to be called like something completely different in the game, I guess, because there are similarities to like consecrations or whatever. I just, yeah, it was just weird. I don't know. They seem, but I don't mind the utilities at all. I think if you get rifle and you're in open world and you're playing with those utilities, and then you get the gunblade out as well, and like you can really kite stuff really well. It is pretty fun. You feel like this snipery kind of, like the rifle pairs really well with it. It's actually kind of fun. I like
Where
it.
are you two going?
Is it like a
That's
shark
fun.
thing that we have to kill or
know.
something?
Go
I think
for
that's
it,
in an
Ian.
explorable.
No. Yeah, I'm keep thinking it's the explorable as well.
Okay, so I could tell you. So I played a decent amount of Bladeswron during the betas. I think it's probably the one I played the most of. And I could tell you what my major
Gripe is.
things with it is.
Yep.
I would say, okay, so I don't mind that much the way it works now with the gunblade being the major thing, and you don't really have access to your bursts anymore. As
Wait,
much as it pains me, it's okay.
Oh,
I
right, okay. was like, what?
I mean,
You
if
were
they
just going on
somehow
about it.
changed the design and said, "Hey, look, you get back your weapon swap and you get back your burst when you're no longer in gunblade,"
Right.
I don't think that would be bad. I think that would be great for the that'd be great for the warrior. Would it be too strong? I don't really think so, because if all the weapons are balanced, it's fine. But it's fine the way it is too. A lot of people were complaining, not a lot of people, but some people were complaining that you have to press F1 to weapon swap between the gunblade and your old weapon, and your weapon swap doesn't work anymore. I get that complaint. Not a big issue for me either.
Yeah, your muscle memory will
That's
adapt
silly
over
though.
time.
Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
like, because the reason they've done that is because Elementalist and Engineer can swap their weapons out of combat. That's why they've done it. It's so you can still swap your weapons out of combat. It just there's no reason that this should be an issue.
Yep.
But if we don't get weapon swaps back and we don't get the burst skills back, I do feel like it needs some kind of other outlet for its flow. I don't know what that would look like, but I think it needs it. On top of that, I think that the burst skill 2 and burst skill 3, although burst skill 2 is like my favorite and very fun, the slash and you go slash through things.
Yeah.
I love that one. I think that one and the burst skill 3 need some work on just bug fixes, I think, because it gets really affected by terrain. So when you when you slash with your blade 2, and if you hit a rock or something, instead of getting stopped by the rock, which first of all would be terrible, I think you just go through. Instead of getting hit by stopped by the rock, you get launched up into the air by the rock, and things get weird after that. Also, I think your burst skill 3, which is a projectile that does the same thing as a burst skill 2, but doesn't move you. It basically follows the same pathing as your skill 2, so if it hits a rock, gets launched into the air as well, and then won't hit its target. I think probably only 30% of the time I use my burst skill 3, the projectile, does it actually hit a target. Every other time it just kind of goes somewhere and disappears. So those are just like little things that could easily get fixed.
Wait, warning, I think this is underwater.
Oh, underwater.
Yes,
Here we
yes.
go.
You don't have.
It is
We were
your
right.
You don't have any underwater skills. Some of them don't work. So just
jeez.
FYI.
But the good news is my Bladeswron skills are being are available underwater here.
Yeah,
No.
it works out here.
Well,
I'm so
Yeah.
surprised
not
that
all
they
of
did
them.
not allow these to be underwater, considering End of Dragons.
Well, yeah.
It's the utilities. What can you use the thingy, the trigger skills?
Yes.
They
Yeah.
actually work well.
Oh
I
my
can't, I
gosh,
can't
it
use the
looks like-
walls.
This
It
is
looks like
actually
I can
really
use
good.
Dragon Trigger too, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, I mean,
Let's
if
see
it's
what-
like your entire if it's your entire
should be,
kit for
yeah,
this
bloody
elite
hell, that
spec,
would really suck.
imagine if that didn't work
That
underwater.
would be
That's
actually
interesting.
awful. But it's just what it looks like, I guess.
Yeah,
let's have a
what's
look.
really interesting is the
Oh damn!
There
there's
it
the
is.
teleport. The teleport works underwater as
Oh,
well.
that actually looks rad as fuck. Damn! Sorry, I didn't know
Does?
not to swear during the podcast.
Oh
but-
my gosh, you're right. The
That looks
teleport
so
does
good.
work. What? It won't
Yeah.
turn you around
Oh.
though. So like I moved and I couldn't detonate it.
Oh,
That was cool.
But that's okay. It will move you just forward a short distance while you're
Yeah.
underwater. Whichever way you
that's
were
good.
facing when you locked into the pose. You can't like pick and select.
So, one thing about the Bladeswron. So PvE overtuned, like we all understand. PvP undertuned, and why is that though? Like, what is it about Bladeswron in PvP that's undertuned? Number one,
It's not
I'd say
mobile.
the
That's why.
damage on the burst skills.
yes.
Because as we were talking about, for example, the Vindicator, the dodge roll,
Yeah.
you could get up to like 10k damage on that, on a dodge roll. The Bladeswron, you wait 5 seconds standing still in PvP, and then use your Bladeswron burst, the strongest one. If you're lucky with pure glass cannon and all the buffs, you'll
What'd you
get
get?
like 8k, 9k.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
So
You wouldn't go for
probably a
that.
little undertuned.
I don't think you'd be good. I don't think you'd be going for that anyway. I think you'd be going for what is it called?
Well, of course not, because there's no payoff. Imagine if there was.
oh
a
no,
payoff.
yeah, but
Then
like,
that would be really interesting.
but like, I
Yeah,
think that,
yeah, yeah.
that's just I feel like just be up in the damage on that. I actually think they'll probably go for the unyielding one, the stuns and stuff. I think that's probably one of the better ones.
yeah.
there's
But
some
then
good
you just become like
utilities
a
in
stun master.
Sure, I mean that's kind of Warrior does that pretty well
Yeah,
already,
already.
I guess.
Yeah.
So the builds that kind of work in PvP right now are the things we were talking about last thing, is using those shouts and all that ammunition skill and all the ammunition restocking that you can get to do some
yeah.
a lot of sustain kind of.
I
and
feel
still
like
a
it
lot
would
of
be.
damage.
Do you think it would be like a side noder more? That's like it's like it is kind of now, maybe.
It's
Like with the
hard to
shouts?
say. I wonder. Like I don't. Yeah, I guess so.
I haven't really played it
I
in
guess
PvP.
so.
that's
Maybe a
the thing.
roamer because it has a good amount of mobility too. Not a lot of mobility, but like with the skill 5 on the thing, and then you could have an offhand. Your offhand weapon could literally just be your mobility weapon.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe you could be kind of a roamer. I don't know. It's tough to say. I think, but I think the fact that there is only like 1, maybe 2 builds that work in PvP for right now is an issue because they're getting carried by the healing, shouting, or ammunition restocking in general. Just that aspect of it. I think it needs some other thing that's good for it in PvP.
Yeah.
That would make sense. I
Perhaps.
mean, it's interesting because when we were thinking about, with this class, right, and we were talking about PvE, and we were saying, oh, well, you probably wouldn't use much other than your gun saber, right? Because the gun saber is so satisfying, and it, kind of maybe makes other things obsolete, and it's really great going into the dragon trigger. I guess maybe that's a mode where other weapons can shine a little bit more if, dragon trigger has less use. But it seems like they would need to have other stuff as well to kind of make it, I don't know, like you were saying, because I don't play much PvP. I haven't taken this one into PvP. I mostly do, PvE stuff, which this is great for, and like with raids and stuff, in
Yeah.
a single boss. So it's interesting to think about what they could do. I don't know if any of you have ideas specifically. I mean, you were just firing off a few, but like, do you think it's something about actually changing how the gun saber functions, or do you think it's something about adding in other, I don't know, traits or other things that might make it more well-rounded in a setting like PvP?
Probably damage for a start. Scaling
Damage
maybe
would
might be
help.
down.
Damage
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
did, but I don't know if it needs much more.
I don't
So
think.
I would say damage, and what would really help it is if, I'm gonna say it one more time, they didn't remove so much of the warrior. They didn't do so many of those trade-offs.
Mm.
Do you,
Because then that would help with its versatility a little bit,
Right.
right? If you still had your offhand weapon burst, for example, I think just one of those two things, like either
yeah.
keep your offhand weapon bursts and you only have one weapon swap, or don't remove the weapon swap and don't have the bursts. You know what I mean?
In PvP, I think as well, yeah, and that kind of makes sense. Maybe there could be some play around with that maybe a little bit more. But I feel like as well in PvP, there isn't as many crafters for warrior as there used to be. I actually think that is a thing, because warrior actually hasn't been as popular in PvP for a pretty long time. Like the Spellbreaker side node has been a thing. There's definitely been people who have played like a lot of stuff, but if you go on, there isn't as many warrior theory crafters as I think there is on anything else in PvP specifically. Like, and I think that's got a little bit to do with it. I feel like there are builds there that I actually think this is one of those classes which might take a little bit longer to work out, whereas there is some elements that kind of Boots is talking about, as well as Kroof, that, you know, then the damage and whatnot as well could be increased. I feel like the shouts are quite cool, but we've had the shouts being used before. You know, I don't want that again. We don't want if there's a condition meta, we don't want it to be that the Bladeswron is just gonna be able to remove all conditions and just go for the shout rune, and that's the thing again. Or maybe that is a good thing, you know, maybe that's a good way that they can remove conditions, and that's fine. But I think, you know, finding out what the interesting thing for me specifically when Elite Specializations come out, because of PvP being my favorite mode, is where they see their role in that game mode. So in PvP, you've got different roles. You know, you've got roamer, you've got tank support, you've got the bruiser on the sides, and, you know, people have tried to assign roles to Guild Wars 2 classes now for a couple of years. It's not really worked because so many classes just have different roles and just little hybrid ways of doing different things. And I think, like, I'm not sure what the warrior's role in PvP is. I would love for them to come and say to us, like, this is where we think this will sit in their idea of things. I wish they would give us some more of that background information, like CMC, you know, I think sometimes gives it out, but like maybe just having a stream where they talk to top PvP folks, or they just have these internal discussions, like a mini podcast, and be like, well, Carl, where do you see this? Where do you feel like this is going to be in the meta? Like, do you think this is going to be more of a roamer? Do you think it's going to be a side noder? Oh, it could be this because I think this and that the other, and we maybe designed it to be this in this way. But of course, you know, it doesn't have to be this focused in this. You can just do what you want with it, essentially. I'd like those kinds of thoughts from them a lot as well, like, and just honest to God, just like, you know, the elements, like the design process of these things, like, you know, having a video where you cut to it and, you know, during the development process, and it's like, oh, well, we thought about doing this because of this reasons, that might give a bit of insight to people who might be a bit upset about things sometimes, and be like, oh, I see what they were trying to do there, but it didn't work out. And, like, you know, they will change it. They will change these things that don't work necessarily. This is a beta. This is what betas are for. Like, if you don't tell them something isn't good or something isn't fun, which essentially is basically what we're telling them, this isn't fun because of X, Y, Z. Wow. Wait, Z? You say Z in America.
We got you either way. We got it.
All right, okay.
We're multicultural here.
That's true. It was more about, like, have I completely lost my Englishness? Z, I said, okay, I'm okay then. That's right. I think I would just love some of that. Because they're doing really well with that background information. You know, like the they did with the DX11 stuff, which we can also talk about. Why are they bleeding so much right now? Good
so much
Lord.
A lot of bleed.
I'm going back onto my shout. I'm going back onto my shout spec. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone feels the same about that, because I really like that DX.
I love a dev diary.
Yeah,
dev diary is great.
Specializations, and like
That's
seeing them at least be interviewed, or like have the behind the scenes of like the team going like, okay, day one, throw ideas at the board, and then the whole process of it. So I just love having like little sneaks behind the curtain, but on top of that, it does give you more insight as to what they were trying to go for. Like, you know, because if we had that idea, we'd be like, oh, maybe we'll try this in this direction, and we didn't even think of taking this trait with that trait or something like that.
Mm.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe
like
they don't because they worry that it'll give people like a preconceived notion of how they're supposed to be playing it. But it is one of
Potentially.
those things where I think having that kind of discourse or having that understanding of like what something might have been designed with in mind can help you figure out even your own niche with what you're trying to do with it, right? So it's like it is both good and bad because yes, it helps you focus in on something that might be a component that you overlooked, but it also can kind of, I think, maybe make people think that like that's the only thing or the only way it can be done. And in a class like this, and this is a question that I want to ask all of you because I'm actually really curious. I'm curious to hear what you think. Do you think that all elite specializations moving forward should be made with all game modes in mind? Or do you think that it is all right to have elite specializations that focus in and might excel in some kind of specific piece of content,
I like that
but
idea.
This
might
is
not be as good in others?
This is a debate that
It's
has
a
been
difficult
going on
one.
since Elite Specs first came out. Like when the Spellbreaker came out, for example, and they're like, well, this isn't very good in PvE. And I personally think not all Elite Specs need to be designed to be useful in every single game mode.
Yeah.
But
Why? Say why. Say why.
oh, because, you know, if you want to design something to be interesting, to be, you know, a very cool design flavor-wise or play style-wise, it's almost impossible to make it useful in every play mode because they're very different things, right? Like in PvP, you want to have a little bit more survivability. You want to do, you know, it's very different from PvE where you don't have a lot of condies coming at you. You don't have a lot of, you know, CC coming at you that much. So yeah, I mean, but unfortunately, I don't know if this is unfortunately, but in reality, it seems like most elite specs do give you the opportunity to kind of at least play in every game mode with them.
That's
Not
where
well.
I
Like obviously some
believe.
things are worse than others.
I agree that like I think as Guild Wars 2 goes on and we are hitting the third elite specialization, not every one of them is going to be meta or have a really strong presence in a particular game mode. Like I'm not going to expect Spellbreaker to ever be like top meta pick, okay? It's like world versus world PvP areas, great. However, I do agree that it is wise for them to at least make them manageable in each game mode, and that is mostly done through the skill splitting. And we've seen with this elite specialization patch that we've had almost every skill and trait say that, oh, this is unique per game mode. And I think they don't have to make them all great in each one, but I do think that it is important to allow it to feel logically sound in each game mode.
Even PvP though?
Even PvP. Like right
would
now,
you say, I mean, Berserker's still not having that great of a time in PvP.
I've run into some pretty skilled berserkers where they can like
Yeah, you have
decimate
to
you
be
in 2 shots.
skilled.
Well, yeah, you. Well, of course, you know, depending on each person's game style, you know, your effectiveness will. There's 2 layers: how the developers make it, and your own personal skill level, skill cap, what you enjoy playing.
And what about the core specs?
I think core specs are all pretty great. Well, we could see some metas shift where not each core profession is really great, but I think for the most part, they're all pretty serviceable. I mean, we played like Guild Wars 2 PvP with those core professions for like 3 years.
Well, Guardian support is meta right now.
Is
and has been meta
Oh
for a while.
yeah. No, but I'm talking about like
Core Necro, Core Warrior.
Core
some
Ellie
people
in
playing this.
PV in raids or something. Or Core Ellie doesn't really work that well in raids.
Yeah, Core Ellie can work in PvP for fun, but there's no one playing it in like ATs or anything. It's not awful.
Yeah.
I genuinely think like this is I think this is a problem. I think the in all honesty, originally they wanted to have it so that every class, basically, they made the game on the premise that you don't have a tank and you don't have a healer in PvE, right?
Big mistake.
But they must have known, well, they must have known that in the competitive modes that people are going to pick up these roles. They've got the roles in the game. They've got healers, they've got shouts, they've got a heal, they've got AoE heals, they've got these kinds of things going on. So people are going to assign these roles. And I think after a while, especially when they started inserting raids into the game and everything else, that people still like that. They like to have that, and which is why we've got raids and we've got fractals and where people do kind of take on the roles, but they don't have to. But then, you know, what do they do with their design of these classes? Because originally in core, you know, we essentially everything is like an elite specialization. They chuck in like 4 or 5 for each class, and they're like, okay, what is this going to do? Is this going to be a thing? Like, we don't want to have a monk, so we're going to call it a guardian instead, and we're going to give it damage, like in different abilities and things like that. So they didn't want to go down that road. But then I think, like, you know, I think Catalyst is one of the things where they're like, I think they've tried to do this. And they've tried to be, they've gone for this, like, what do we do with this now? Like, thing, which could have been a healer. It could have been a damage dealer. It could have been, like, you know, I think what they've tried to go for more so is a boon support character, like, you know, basically with quickness, right? Like, that's the idea. It's the boons, it's the might, and everything else with fire. I think that's one of the things they've tried to do, which is what we did in the podcast leading up to the reveals, is like saying what is it they're missing, because that's what they're going to try and fill in. And that's why I asked that question. It's the most important question, because you don't want to just be like, give them the same thing, like, again, like, you don't, essentially Tempest is their healer really, but still does do great damage as well. So it does do, and is easier to play than Weaver. So it feels that kind of niche with players where it's easier, and it still does a thing quite well, but not quite as well as the Weaver, which is more complicated, or seen as quite complicated. It's just more of a thing that it takes longer to get used to. So that is the thing, like the intricacies of the class. So I don't know if I have an answer to this question, but I like talking about it a lot. I feel like, but like, you know, but right now, I think essentially as well is that the game is so in that way that if you want to play a Bladeswron like me right now and you want to be a healer, you can do that. Like, you can at least have the option if you want to, but I feel like they do need to have some idea of the kinds of roles or the themes of what they want to do. Because, you know, if you have a character called the Bladeswron, what does that signify to a new player? What does that signify to a person? What is the iconography or whatever the word is of that name? Like, what does it mean to someone? Because, you know, that's an important thing. Like a druid, for example.
Specializations need to specialize into some aspect of a trinity to better, like, advertise them and get a sense of what they are going to do.
This is really interesting to me, because I agree with what everybody was saying up until maybe this point, I think. Like, oh, crew.
Hit the spot.
I love it. I love it. What a good jumping off point. Like, I honestly, it's really interesting to hear everybody's thoughts. And I think I kind of feel the same, right? In that I do agree. I don't know if every single thing needs to appeal to all things forever game modes. And especially as we get more and more elite specs, you know, there are pros and cons, because this is a game where whatever you want to do, you can do, but it's also a game where you can swap to different elite specs on one core class. So, you know, if one isn't fantastic for PvP, but it's great on raiding, you can do that. If one isn't great for raiding, but so on, I think, you know, they always have some kind of versatility of builds within those and within the amount of elite specs that we have. And yet, you know, of course, I understand if somebody loves something and wants it to be really good, but I think even just in these, like, 2 different sets of, you know, elite specs that we've had a chance to sort of play and demo now, we've seen, I think, almost 2 very distinctive designs here, right? If Bladeswron doesn't have the high mobility that might be more necessary to get in more hits to avoid other players, the first set sure as hell does. Like, there's so much mobility in that first set, and even in the potential of Willbender, right? Which I think plays more towards that action component that makes PvP shine. Whereas I actually love the idea of a character like this and a playstyle like this, where your hardest hits are ones where you do actually you have that moment to take and to really gauge something. And if you can line that up, you can annihilate something, which doesn't necessarily, again, lend itself to PvP. And having that difference does feel good. But then, Krufu, we got to the idea of, do we need to have holy trinities added into that? The idea of like, does each class need to specifically, or each elite spec need to be something that is tailored towards a trinity? I don't think so. It's tough because ESO asked a very similar question, and their answer was yes. Over time, they ended up making it because they wanted each of the classes to be able to be sort of spec'd into a tank, a heal, a DPS, and they've tried to more delineate that, even though they themselves also have ambiguous, not Holy Trinity content, but sometimes. And yeah, in Guild Wars 2, one of the things that I do really love is the flexibility and the ability to have hybrid builds. And I think if you start building specifically or advertising specifically around the conventions of a Holy Trinity, not even all of the game is structured to necessarily support that. And yet I can agree with you and see that it maybe is more marketable in a sense. And if they keep increasing stuff like raid content or stuff like that, it does also make it clearer and easier to understand. But I don't know if I want them to try and shoehorn elite specs into maybe different types of content, but I don't know if I want them to all have to be, this is a tank, this is a heal.
Not one specifically, no.
I think you're right in that. I don't know, I might be putting words into Kruf's mouth, but I don't know if what Kruf was saying was that it had to be a Holy Trinity
that's fair,
deal.
That's fair too.
I have a feeling that what Kruf was talking about is that if a new elite spec comes out, probably the people designing it have in mind something that it will be useful for.
A role, right? Like a
role. At least one.
At
least one thing that it'll be good for. So like if you want to say, hey, okay, this spec will be able to be used in raids. What do you need for it? You need either a lot of DPS, so that'll be the thing it's for. I guess that is technically part of a Holy Trinity kind of thing. Or it's one of the other two things, which is it protects the raid in some way, or it buffs the raid in some way. And so that is a design aspect that they would be thinking about when they're making an elite spec.
And I would agree with you, Rook, in terms of like Guild Wars 2 was never created to be a game that strictly adheres to a Holy Trinity system.
Yeah.
However, with expansions now and elite specializations, in Heart of Thorns, they started to go more in this soft Trinity section where they started to specialize into this one is a support, this one's high damage, Connie damage, bruiser, or boon support. And now that we're getting to so many, that I feel really has to be the case to differentiate each of the elite specs themselves, but also to have clarity. Like, for example, the Catalyst, have clarity in that new essentially a subclass to these core professions.
It hasn't been
without that, it becomes a bit muddy.
I agree. I agree.
I think the Catalyst, honestly, it only does 40, probably only 20k DPS. It according to the thing so far anyway. It is kind of a weird hammer mishmash role, but has anybody really used it as a quickness support yet?
Yeah.
Jeb's like, obviously.
I did it in raids on
Camp in
Wednesday.
air.
I did it in raids on Wednesday. It was okay.
I mean, there's probably a little bit more intricacy to what you could do with that, right? Like, either you camp air and just do some power damage, I guess, or
you just put mine out.
I noticed that the quickness is longer duration than you need for if you just camped air. Like you could get out of air if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't camp air. No. You chuck the field down and then, you go into, I guess I went into fire. We were still stuck in there a fair bit, but like fire, air. I didn't go onto earth or anything else much. It was just like, what did I do? I put down a lot of conjures as well. Gave auras out for my building.
What was the conjures for?
So auras. So I was in fire line and I went for aura. So I went fire here and I went for conjure. So gain fire aura when an ally picks up conjured weapon. Conjured weapon abilities have recharge, reduce recharge, so they can put fields down, might, stacking. Obviously, gain might each time you hit someone. That's another way to give out might. And then you got might and quickness. It was kind of fun. What else was there? A little bit defense, I think. Vulnerability as well was good.
So on paper, it looks like the intent of Catalyst for a raid scenario is boon support.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm. I would say so.
For
Or
PvP
for one damage, I guess.
and other stuff. For general PvE, that's where it gets a little wishy-washy, right?
Because it's like, is it supposed to be a more side note, tanking, self-sustain, easier time? Or is it supposed to be like power?
Yeah,
I
it
know
definitely gets wishy-washy as soon as you leave a structured raid scenario.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you go
Yeah,
over to
yeah.
Twitch.
I mean, I
look at-
absolutely agree.
yeah.
I think these are like big questions that all designers have to ask, right? And you're right. I think that if you're trying to do too much with an elite spec, and I absolutely agree with this, and I misunderstood initially about the Trinity, right?
Mm.
Like specifically in shoehorning. But I do agree that I think you can have clarity with a unified purpose within a class. I guess with me, it almost, I like with our trait trees and stuff within that, the idea that for each class there might be like a small selection of different, like, these are very much kind of the intended streamline, you know? Here's the branch you're definitely going to take if you have Condi or if you're trying to do support or something like that, that give versatility while still narrowing down. But it does seem like some classes are better able to handle that, maybe because of the designers themselves or because of the weapons or because of the other conventions in the game than others. Whereas, like, you know, in this case, I do feel like Bladeswron is so, you know, narrowed into that niche, and it just plays great and it's super fun. And Catalyst tried to do maybe a little too much and is very confusing and a little bit blurry in any regard. But finding that balance, I think, is really like the sweet spot for Guild Wars 2, you know? What are certain things that we've honed in on this elite specialization that allow options and a bit of diversity, but also, I think, you know, are streamlined enough that they're coherent, which is not an easy mix to hit, right? And I do agree that it would probably be easier for each elite spec, and as we get more and we continue to know there are more, to just focus in on some one element. Because there should, in theory, be enough options again down the road that it wouldn't matter. I guess we'll just have to see, because I do like having a bit of surprise and discovery and other ways that you can do something within a class. I think it's kind of the core of a lot of Guild Wars 2's mentality, but it does run the risk of, losing identity or losing effectiveness within a specific role. And as the game continues to expand and they realize, like, hey, we can't just design everything not having any idea of what's going to be brought to the table, you know, like, specificity leads to content that's more tailored to what is specified, which is both good and bad. And I think it's something that Guild Wars 2 tries to tread a line on that many other MMOs just don't even take the risk on, right? It's just very difficult. Like,
it's definitely one of the things I love about Guild Wars 2, right? Like, it's my entire shtick is trying is trying to do weird stuff with the things they give you with the builds, like, thinking outside the box.
It's not just in Guild Wars 2 either. And sorry. But yeah, I mean, sorry, my mind goes off on one. Yeah, I'm just trying. I mean, there are, like, to go back to Catalyst a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I have had some genuine enjoyment on this. Like, just as he says, it's like he dies. Oh, I rallied. That's nice. But like, I can see, like, I like, as a roaming person around the map, like, there's some genuine enjoyment in kind of using these conjures and using some stuff I've not used for a long time and blasting with arcane and, like, mixing up a ton of different abilities to get, like, a ton of might stacks. That's actually been kind of a fun thing I've been doing as well, just for a laugh. And then getting the quickness. I'm getting wrecked by this fool right now. I'm getting wrecked. I'm actually getting destroyed. But I don't know. Yeah, I think generally in all, like, just as like, if everyone can give me their opinions, like, how did this feel compared to the last Elite Spec beta? Like, I mean,
ranking now.
I think that's like, I'm gonna ask for it. You know, we're at that stage now. I feel like we've talked about this a fair bit today.
I think we should do two sets of ranking though. One is how we currently feel about how much fun we had with them.
Yeah.
ranked,
difficult
and
to do?
then the potential for each
Yeah.
one.
Oh my gosh, Boots, you took the words out of my mouth. I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, this is what we're kind of getting to. This is what I was going to ask. Yes, it needs to be. You need to think not about necessarily your own kind of favorite things in the world of everything. Its potential is important, and like mechanically how it works, like all these different things. But like, what I mean, did we do this with the last three? I think we did, didn't we?
We probably said like our favorites,
I
like
think we said our favorites,
most
right?
to least favorite.
But
Now we have
that's-
6 to talk about.
I mean, for me, like in the last beta elite spec, like my favorite to play and have fun with was Harbinger. Like probably the one. Virtuoso, I'm still clueless about. I feel like I was just like didn't really touch it at all. It just didn't feel great to me, so that I put that second, and then like Willbender was second just because of the kick. Like, but like the potential wise, like I see a massive amount of potential in Harbinger and Willbender, and then Virtuoso, I'm just like, I don't know. I genuinely don't know because I just didn't really connect with it at all. So that was my least favorite. But in terms of like those three, is there anyone else that wants to kind of say how they feel about the last one?
These 3?
The last beta first,
Oh,
because
the
I
last
don't think we
one.
actually gave
Well,
like a.
my favorite was Virtuoso because I loved the
Okay.
new spell animations.
Cool.
The dagger is ranged, but is better in melee. So to that degree, it was a little upsetting. But
Yeah.
Willbender was probably my second favorite, and then Harbinger on a purely thematic area. But in terms of potential, Harbinger and Willbender probably do have the most potential if they do not change a couple ideas on Virtuoso.
Okay. Cool. Sorry, Rick or Boots? Want to go next?
Just specifically only the first 3?
First three, yeah.
Okay. I had the most fun. Blam. I really, really enjoyed Harbinger. It made me yell loud noises because it was exciting.
It was. I liked it.
I liked going into the Shroud. I thought it felt like it packed a punch. There was, an interesting challenge, especially when you started hitting Heart of Thorn stuff with it, things to balance. I do think that doesn't mean it's a perfect class by any means, right? Like, basically nothing is, but I really did enjoy it. And I think overall, I liked the sort of aesthetic and conceptualization of Virtuoso. Probably, I felt like that was the most coherent, at least artistically to me. The new spell effects were gorgeous. Totally agree with Kroof. Loved that, but it just wasn't quite as like ooh for me when I was going through it as Harbinger was. And then Willbender was probably my lowest of those 3, just for my impressions initially. But I think overall, in that set of 3, to me, has the highest potential. I don't necessarily think that its visual identity is anything to write home about, and I would love it if they kind of buffed up some of the things with it just to make it look more distinctive.
Yeah.
But the mobility in that class is something that immediately I was like, I might not totally get, I might be clunky with this class right now, but if I got so good at this that I didn't even have to think about moving with it, this class would allow me to take advantage of the incredible just action in this game in a way that I could control so much about what I was doing, dodging, moving, getting over here in just about any game mode. But particularly, I think it would shine in PvP and then also in stuff like open world, right? Where, it's a little less scripted, it's a little more freeform, and you can get kind of a little more loose and wild with it in a sense too. So I think Willbender had the most potential, but I will see. I'm curious to see how they kind of round it out and bring more to the table with it, because it felt a little clunky, and I didn't know if that was just me not totally having a fluid grasp of it yet, or if that was a few other things that I think did need to be
No,
tweaked.
you're right. I think that was general feeling for me as well. I can probably agree with you on that one. Completely validate your feelings by actual
Thanks,
experience.
Jeff. You're validated too.
Okay, Boots.
Yeah, I mean, same thing for me. I think just feeling it in game, Harbinger it felt the most fun, maybe just because it was like baseline giving you a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like baseline, if you took the trait, you had infinite quickness in Shroud.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, this is great to work with, and I just have to auto attack. This is great. And and I have these awesome movement skills in Shroud too. And oh wow, Shroud is powerful. I love this.
Yeah.
Um, uh, yeah, and I agree. Yeah, Willbender, potential wise was the highest for me as well because I saw those movement skills and I was like, oh man, this could be really good for things. But it just didn't work out that way. I think my main gripe was the animations with Willbender and the passive turn to active stances kind of things with the justices that were underwhelming. At least the justice was very underwhelming.
Okay, that's a good point.
Virtues.
That's a good
I
point.
shouldn't. Yeah, I forgot about that. That should not be
Yeah.
5 hits to activate. That should be like every single attack.
I feel like that a lot of the explanation and actual just communication of what that whole thing does is very, very loose as well for like a lot of players. I think a lot of the language in some of those tooltips needs to be looked at, and also how these classes, they need to think about like the newer players and people who like, there's a lot I think they can be confused in those tooltips, whereas I kind of get all of the things and what they do. I think there's a lot of access stuff that they need to look at, and I know it's early and they're still looking at tooltips and stuff, but there's definitely like a lot of that kind of language they need to look at. Okay, cool. So thinking about that, and that was a good point. Like you're talking about Willbender and Boots, and you're talking about the theme of it, I guess, and also just thinking about you're talking about Harbinger, and you're talking about the quickness there, and also the quickness uptime as well. And then I think about Catalyst, and like they've got the quickness as well for the team or the party or whatever, and it's like, oh, well, it's like a ton easier to do on Harbinger. You just throw this thing out every so often.
Yeah, maybe a little too easy.
Like with Catalyst, there's an exact AoE, and I think the range is bigger on Harbinger. I can't remember what the range is on the Elixir when you use it, and it disperses out as 600 or 300.
Oh, but it's not even the elixir that gives you the infinite, right? It's the
it's the Harbinger
if
Shroud.
you're in Shroud.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's the Shroud. You're right. Yeah. Okay, so it's even easier, like, and it just pops out, and it's very consistent, right? It's not this cooldown. Well, it's got a cooldown, but not the same as Catalyst. So I think it's worth them thinking about where. Oh dear. Like, do you know what I mean? I mean, it is kind of like an oh dear moment, and I can't remember Harbinger's like how many people it affects and all this kind of stuff. It should be 5 still. And you can just have one in each party, but then what differentiates them in that respect? I think, Catalyst might be giving off more boons. Anyway, we all said the first 3. Okay, second 3, I think we kind of did this, but I'll start and I'll say, like, in terms of my favorite fun thing to play, I think Vindicator was definitely. I played a Vindicator support build and it was fun as hell in raids. It was just fun. I went into PvP and I played a PvP build and it was fun. I just had fun with the class. It felt very Revenant. Like the mists, I felt, the voice lines were great. I felt the theme of the class was fantastic. In terms of just, kind of tweaking it and see how it's going to go in the future, I think with everything, their cadence for balance post launch, as long as they keep it up, I'm good to go on everything. I don't care. At the moment, I'm good to go with every single class the way it's coming out, as long as they fix kind of the numbers and whatnot, and they keep looking at balance, and maybe look at Catalyst a lot with how it is at the moment. Like, as long as they keep up with the balance, like numbers and stuff like that can always be changed in the way that they have changed things, because they have changed like classes completely. They changed like FIFA a lot. They changed a lot to do with like Mesmer. So we know that they can do this a lot down the line. It's just maybe don't take years to do it, which is like, I mean, essentially when the game,
because it's a beta.
well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, do it because it's a beta, but also while the game is coming out, adjust the metas, like adjust it so that other classes become good. So like if Harbinger's quickness is great and everyone's using Harbinger for like 6 months, change it so that you nerf it and then the elementalists can use it. Do you know what I mean? Like change these things that PvP games do, where different classes or different characters are used just because we want to shift it around and we want to see gameplay evolve and change. Like I think like that's something which I would love to see. And I think in terms of like all the classes, I really have actually enjoyed Catalyst, I feel like I've actually been on Catalyst the most, weirdly. I think that's just because I'm trying to make it work. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm trying to make the thing work, and in doing so, that has brought out the fun theory crafting part of what I love about this game. And maybe, you know, knowing that maybe there is somewhere in there that he's gonna click with everyone, and we're just gonna be like, oh, no one tried this thing. I know at the moment no one's like that, and it's not the case, but like, you know, I love that kind of way of going around things. So I think like in all, like Vindicator favorite, like in all the ways, and then Catalyst is last just because it's clunky, and Bladeswron's kind of cool, I guess. So like, I'm not massively into it. Like, it's all right. I mean, I'm just like, it feels a bit like NG. It doesn't feel very, very unique specifically, I think, for me. And I think it's because there's still essentially a big sword that you're using, but and pistol feels forgotten. Doesn't feel like a main thing.
I love pistol. We haven't even talked about that.
It is a fun
really
weapon, but I wouldn't take it as a side weapon for the class.
It's pretty good.
There's no where would you use it?
I used it in PvP and in PvE.
I'd use a shield.
It's all like, it's pretty good, especially.
I'll try it.
It's interesting.
I'll try it. It's got that's the it is interesting. That's true. It's got some nice.
It's not
damage.
to the degree of shield, because shield is so like staple.
It's too good. That's why. It's too good for defense. So it's like. Oh. But yeah, that's where I am. Really long-winded way of explaining and talking about balance, because I always want to try and put balance into these conversations, because that's so important in future that gets done. And they've put big highlight on that, and I want to remind them that that's the case, because I know they listen to this. So please make sure you continue to balance the game as you wish to go going forward. Okay, who's next?
I guess we'll go in the same order. So for me, funnily enough, I had the same instance where I've been playing Catalyst the most. It's almost like a car accident where you just can't look away from it.
Jesus Christ.
You're like, I just gotta keep playing it just to see if something ends up clicking. But in terms of my ranking, I would say Bladeswron, I think could be shipped tomorrow. They could launch Bladeswron. It would fit very, very well right now. I think the weapon is nice, the new class feature, the utilities, the traits are all very good. Perhaps not like meta as strong as some of the other elite specs, but it's very serviceable. Vindicator is probably my second, only because I still find the legend utilities to be a little clunky, and I would like to see a little bit more agency and maybe a bit more fluidity in the ones that you can swap into. Yeah. And finally, Catalyst, for all of the aforementioned reasons in this multi-hour-long podcast.
Yeah. It's gone on for a while. Okay. Next. Thank you, Griff.
Yeah, I actually feel exactly the same as Kurf. Same order. I think that to me, Bladeswron feels clean, it feels good, it flows, it's fun to use. I feel like it's well tailored. Vindicator was close for me though, probably a little bit closer maybe in that second place than for Kurf, where I did like the potential of it. I thought it was fun to dig into. I really enjoy the theme of it. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. There's just something about Bladeswron that is just, it's so comfy. You know, like the hilt of a familiar sword in your hand. Like it just like fits and it works well. And so for me, that notched it up a little bit higher. And then Catalyst, which was my most highly anticipated, was at the bottom. But if we are looking at the potential, I think that's flipped. Like it's all flipped for me in reverse, because I do think that Catalyst, for all that it has going on, if they can hone in on some of those ideas and get the timings so right with it, I agree. And that my mind has really liked trying to pick it apart. And I want to fit all the pieces together in the way that it works. And even though right now, I just don't think it's quite there, I think if they get it there, it could easily be one of my absolute favorite classes to play in this game, period. But we just have to see what happens with it. So the potential, I think, is massive. Whereas the other ones, you know, I think it goes, that reverse order for me, where I'm like, I think Bladeswron does what it does well, and it's good, and that's fun, and it's great. Vindicator, I think, has a lot of fun room to play around with, so, you know, the potential of that one, I think, is a little bit higher, and I think people are going to keep discovering stuff of that. And Catalyst, I think, does have a lot that it could do and bring to the table, and an incredible visual design that can make it really iconic. We just have to see if they're able to tune and finesse those things, which again, this is the first beta, right? So like,
Yeah.
of course they're gonna keep working on it, and I have high hopes for it. It's just rough. It's a little rough right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Rick, as well. The beats.
Yeah. I would say that just playing them wise, kind of in the same boat. Well, the issue is I played way more of Bladeswron than I played of the other two, and that might be because I was having more fun with it.
Mm-hmm. That's okay.
So yeah, Bladeswron is higher up there for me. I didn't play that much of Vindicator, but I saw it being slightly higher in the enjoyability than Catalyst currently.
Okay.
Although honestly, I did like trying out some things with Catalyst, like stacking as much stats to be as glass cannony as possible with the extra 20% stats thing.
Yeah.
You could do some pretty big numbers with that, but you wouldn't be using your hammer. But so I guess in that case, potential. Coming into it, I was thinking Catalyst was going to have a lot of potential, but at the same time, it's going to need a lot of changes for me to agree with myself about it having a lot of potential.
Yeah. I know it.
Because like you need changes to a lot of those augment skills. You need something more to it than just a new weapon and a well. That's not a well.
Yeah, the names of things. Yeah, I think there is definitely a lot. This is a conversation we could have over and over because I completely agree with you. I think we all have some agreement.
This whole thing could have been Catalyst discussion.
Yeah,
It could have been.
And as for the Bladeswron being able to be shipped tomorrow, you're probably right, but I still, I want some of that warrior stuff back in it. I want my burst back at least.
Okay.
And that's it. Yeah.
And now thinking about them all together, which is difficult because I feel like it's weird. I was playing this and it really does feel like some of them are just so much more not detailed, but like there's almost not like differently designed or anything, but like it feels like there's almost this really big separation between some of them where I'm like, this one feels like it was worked on and like they really had a clear idea of what was going on, and then some of them are just like, oh dear. Like, I'm just like, not like a mean, horrible, harsh way, but like, you know, maybe they're just not there yet, like Catalyst, and you know, whereas like, you know, the Bladeswron is feels like, you know, the Bladeswron, they got this gun blade and they were like, yeah, this works, and thematically, yes, it's in other games and that makes sense. Well, there's loads of people here. Oh no, they're NPCs. It put me off for a second. I was like, what's going on? Is everyone just coming around and just gathering for a story? For me personally, I think, you know, I think Harbinger first, because let's just go for favorites as well. Flip it. I mean, favorite with like, oh no, we have to do two lists, I guess. But with most potential at the same time. We've only just gone for one list anyway. Harbinger is awesome. I love it. I love the hell out of that. Yes, this can be some stuff done with elixirs, and I think they're going to look at that. Hopefully, you never know. But I think it was just the most fun that I've had on an elite spec. You know, just in a long time. It just really made Necro feel like it was a Necro with a gun. You know, it was just like the movement. It just flipped the class, and that's what I really, really want to see in an elite specialization. I want to see the class flipped on its head and give me something brand new. And yeah, sure, it was a shroud. It gave you elixirs though, out of anything, and it gave you a shroud which was really mobile. And sure, shroud can be mobile on Reaper, but it's not as mobile as that. And it's got these just bursts. It just, you know, it's got this punch that it packed, and I loved playing it. And it just flipped it up for me, and I get passionate about talking about it because it was fun, you know, it was genuinely fun for me. But that's, again, my own personal opinion. So that was number one for me, 8 out of the 6 so far. Vindicator, probably number 2. And then maybe we should just go top 3 out of all 6 because this could take a while.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to say Harbinger, Vindicator, and probably... It's difficult, actually. I'm that fan on itself. I'm just thinking, like, I was like, I really liked Willbender, like some of the physical skills. Like, I just really did. They were really, really fun in the mobility, but it just feels lost a bit. And then I'm like, Catalyst, there's so much potential there, but how much is it doing differently? This feels like you're just flipping around trying to do as much stuff as you possibly can, and you've got hammer while you do it. It just doesn't feel like that thematic massive change. And Guardian's got some physical skills, which I feel like is a big change for them, and just like the mobility, you know, like is a big change. So I'm going to go for Willbender because I feel like that is a big massive like flip for me for that class. So that's my range. There you go. Harbinger, Vindicator, and also the Willbender. There we go.
Nice.
Sorry, that was long-winded. I'm not long-winded at all ever. I'm just excited about talking about league specs.
I am too. I did
Super
technically
cute.
already have a tweet of this, so spoilers if you already saw the tweet.
Oh, okay.
But my top 3 in terms of theme, because I don't always like, my favorite isn't always the one that pulls the largest numbers.
same, exactly.
I rely
Yeah.
a lot on the theme and the logic of the
Mhm.
class identity. I know it's a little role play of me, but
No,
but
no, that's fine.
I really enjoyed, my top 3 would probably be Bladeswron, Vindicator, and Virtuoso. Despite being a Guardian main, Willbender
Okay.
needs more of a, as Rook was saying, like a pizzazzle, something a bit more to be like, oh, this is the Willbender, this is Guardian and Cantha.
Yeah.
So that's what I
Wait,
would.
what was your order? Sorry, I'm writing these down.
It was Bladeswron, Vindicator, and Virtuoso.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Next.
Are we just keep the same order?
Yeah.
However,
Well, first,
I
alright,
think
alright.
We've found a vibe.
My top 3, and this is gonna have a surprising twist ending. So prepare yourselves. I would say Harbinger, Bladesworn, and Catalyst.
I'm
Okay.
leaving the chat. My chat.
I'm
Goodbye.
sorry.
I knew it.
Bird
The
of Chess is
thing
not coming
is-
back next week. What was the first one? Harbinger, was it?
Harbinger, Bladesworn,
Yeah.
and Catalyst. And I think that's because Harbinger, again, it just like, it packed a punch. And Crew, there's no shame. We got role players here. Are you kidding me? Loving a class for role-playing reasons is absolutely valid. It's just as important a part of a component of the class, the lore, the story, the look, the context, as
Your bloody
any of the
game.
actual mechanics or
Yeah,
potencies of a
exactly.
class, right? Like, it's part of why you pick something and why it reflects or resonates with you. So, like, for me, I have never really resonated with Reaper as an aesthetic. Like, I don't mind the darkness. I just don't particularly like the rotting floating meat. And so for
Love that.
me, it's never been something that like really has spoken to me. But I did feel like Harbinger spoke to me, and I was like, this is really cool, and I was really having fun with it, and there was a lot to discover, and I got super into it. And although, again, there are like some things that I think conceptually they could have even rounded out more in it to really make me be like, ooh, this is the best thing ever, I love this. I think overall it still did so much so right, and especially in that Shroud, I was so excited. Then when it comes to the next one, I mean, again, kind of exactly like we talked about with Bladeswron, I think it's just coherent. It works well. It's smooth. I like what it does. I think it zings for me. Like, and it has that bit of, I don't know, just motion with it. Like, even as I play it now, you know, I feel like I've found a flow with it so that I can even be talking on the podcast and still really enjoying it and not like, oops, oh, it's up, oh, it's up. Like, which I think is something that also can be really fun. Those classes that just are comfortable to you and work for you, and there's just something inherently about them that you're like, yeah, I see how it goes. All right, I got you, Bladeswron. So that's kind of how I feel about this one. And then Catalyst is my, for all that I harped on it today, when I get most passionate about things, it's usually because I just feel the most potential in them. I feel the most like you tried to do something here, and like I can see it and it gets me excited. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but like I want to know what that vision is for it. And there are all sorts of little systems in that class that for me as a player, I can tell that if they get them right, like managing those different components of it is something that will make my brain go brrr, like I'll just be happy. I'll just be happy having to try and be like, yes, I kept all of the up times. I have every aura. I've done it. Like, I just know that if it gets there, I will love it. So it's a big risk on that one, but I'm gonna put it up there because even if it was kind of a flop in this iteration, oh man, I want it to be good. I want it to be good.
Big flop vibes in chat.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I think third was close for me because I just have played it a lot, and there's a reason why. There's a reason why. Okay, lovely.
Oh my god.
Rook, legend. There you go. There we go. The dog's here now. The podcast
He
is
just
complete.
jumped up and he's telling me it's time.
Papa.
Dinner time. Give me the dinner. You've got to give. You get to have dinner after you've told us the 3 things.
Yes.
Right. So I would say that I mean for original feel, like when playing it, it's Harbinger, Bladeswron, and and I'm guessing Vindicator just for feel. For things overall and the things I'm hoping for to come, I think it's Bladeswron. You know what? I'm gonna say Catalyst because I feel like they can fix it. I feel like they can fix Catalyst. I think they could add some stuff to it, and I feel like they could change. They could fix some of the things that are not feeling so great right now. Catalyst is. I think they could fix Catalyst.
Yeah.
And
Big
I also
overhaul.
think they could fix Willbender. And so
You
yeah.
gave us 2 top 3s, but fine.
Yeah.
I got an A+ on the assignment because I followed directions.
You did.
and-
Thank you. Awesome. Okay. So the constants with all of us, Harbinger, other than Kroof,
Purely for theme.
who is now
Purely
fired.
for theme.
Fair, that's fair. That's fair.
Vindicator is pretty popular with 3 mentions. Same as Harbinger. Catalyst twice. Willbender twice, I guess. We'll count the 2 lists that it has. Bladeswron is out there with 3 as well. But we're all over the place, really. I think there's some mention of. I think there's honourable mentions. I think there's hopes. I think there's just hope in these lists. You know, that's what I see. There's a lot of hope in the classes where we've kind of had issues, and that's what this kind of feedback is about. You know, seeing the potential and the ideas behind what they want and we want as a community for the classes, and also listening to each other and talking, communicating, so we can hopefully come to a middle ground. But this is where I think like that communication is important, to talk about the idea and vision for what they wanted to put out there in the world with this class. And I think sometimes it comes out when CMC is doing his bits and bobs, but I think there could be an additional preamble from someone else talking about like the general idea behind the class, like a bit like the trailer, but longer. A lot longer, like with someone just going, right, we see this as the class and running around maps in a group, or just showing it off in PvP or something. I don't know, like just
More
internally.
proper trailers that are like the Catalyst is a defensive boon support. Go into the skills.
That would be cool. Yeah, I feel like that would be. I feel like they maybe had some more definite kind of trailers back in the day, maybe with Heart Fonts. Maybe they didn't, but maybe I don't know. Maybe they did.
They were more definite in Path of Fire.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I think we're done for today. We've already been going for like 3.5 hours. I don't know when this becomes something else other than a podcast. Like, what is the thing that comes after a podcast, which is longer? An epic?
Life.
Life. Welcome to the life.
All the other hours of the day.
Has anyone got anything else to say before we shift away?
No, I feel good. I feel like we covered a lot.
Oh, we did. We always do.
For the community, I would just say give as much feedback as you want through all proper channels in the proper way, and test the elite specs to your heart's content.
And if
End
anybody
of Dragon's great.
Yes, if anybody has any questions on that too, if you go to the blog post when they're doing these beta periods, they're very clearly linking like, where can I give feedback? How can I do this? You know, if you just type in Guild Wars 2 Elite Spec Beta, I literally did it during stream today and it popped up and everything is there. So they want to hear feedback, and even if you're a new player, you can make these characters in any of these beta runs. They're really easy to make. They've integrated it all into the game itself, so you don't have to download a separate launcher or anything. And you can mess around and play and just kind of see without it affecting anything in your main story, which is really nice.
Okay. Boots, anything else?
No. I think I'm good.
Okay.
I think you're good too, Boots.
I think you're great, Boots.
Oh, thanks, guys.
You're still fired. Boots is good. This is true. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Okay, so tell us a bit, little spiel before we go. Kroof, where we go?
Oh.
So tip all your bits out. Like YouTube and Twitch and all that stuff.
Hello, everybody. I'm Crew. I do a lot of YouTube videos, and I actually
Why is
have
this accent about every single time we do this bit? So every single time we do this bit, like the intro, the outro, you suddenly just do some either weird mix between a German and a Russian accent. And I'm just like, what is that? Like, how does anyone? I'm just like, this doesn't happen during your videos.
I
This
let the
doesn't happen during
tongue
anything.
say words that taste good out of my mouth. Okay. But hello,
I'm not going with that. I'm not rolling with that.
In a very Californian accent. My name is Kroof. Welcome to the podcast. No, I have a most recent video out where I go into detail about every single Catalyst spell and trait. So if you want to hear more about Catalyst, you can go over there. But I have a bunch of other videos on builds, the betas as well as coming out, doing a lot of stuff there. Also, I'm here on Twitch and Twitter, and you find me everywhere. I'm not hard to find. I'm very loud. So thank you for inviting me once again. I truly appreciate it.
Proof is loud, everyone, just in case you didn't know that. Thank you very much. It's awesome to have you on once again. I have enjoyed your streams with someone from the Pit crew in Drag Race.
That's been fun. We're neighbors apparently, so I've had the lovely opportunity of kind of guiding Bryce Eilenberg, a member of RuPaul's Drag Race, throughout Guild Wars 2. We've been talking about it and doing some things over there with him. So
That's so random. How random is that? That's just epic. I love
Amazing.
it. It's been good to watch that. I've been lurking.
Thank you.
Good stuff. So yes, please go follow. Proof, be awesome. Rook, tell us all of the
Hi.
exciting things.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rook.
Oh god.
Yes.
Find me on Twitch. No, you can find me on Twitch. At Bird of Chess. You can also find me on YouTube, Twitter, same thing. Bird of Chess, no T on the end. Chess like the game. However, very soon here in the next couple weeks, I am going to be going through a rebrand, so there will be new branding and new names. So don't panic if you can't find me at Bird of Chess anymore. I'm going to do my best to just give everybody the information on all the platforms. If you follow now, it'll update, so you don't have to worry. But it was time. It was time for an update. We play a ton of MMOs, but specifically Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2. I also did some stuff with sort of feedback and thoughts on the first beta. We'll have another video coming out here if you're curious about how I felt that they sort of played. I approach things usually from a much more immersive experiential standpoint. So even if you're somebody who, when you pull up a meta video and you're going, this is all over my head, don't worry. Me too. So if you hang out, you check out the videos. I try to approach it from a standpoint where everybody can kind of break it down and see what you can enjoy about the class, even if you're not always nitpicky about numbers or understand all of the crafting, although we do keep an eye towards that kind of stuff as well. So check that out. And I think that's it. Twitter, all the places. Right now, you can find me Bird of Chess.
In future, it would be Megazord. Sorry, no.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what's going to happen with your emotes, because there are birds in there. And I'm like, Rook still is a thing, but...
Don't worry, we're not deviating drastically away from the bird theme or anything.
Okay, birds are
It's still very in line. It's just, it turns out that many people were extremely confused about whether or not I play chess. And the branding has not been, it was a bit of a play off of rook initially because it's both a type of
So
chess
now
piece
you're
and a
just
type
going to
of
be
bird.
called Bird of
So we're
Games.
just updating.
Just
Yeah,
Bird
we're
of
just getting
Games
things in
now.
line.
Bird of Games and various other stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's a bit long-winded as well.
That's a good suggestion, though. It's great.
We'll workshop it.
We'll workshop it.
Wait. Bird of Game. Okay, there we go. B-O-G Bog.
Bog.
That's not very. No, it doesn't work. All right, I'm fired as well. See you next week. No, Boots. Someone who's not going to be here next week. Sorry. I love you, man.
as well.
I've known Boots for a long time.
I've decided as soon as Bird of Chess changes away from Bird of Chess, I'm taking Bird of Chess.
I'm gonna match the IP.
Okay, I'll pass the torch to you. Yeah.
Boots of chess.
I think you'll do great things with it.
Who actually
Well,
plays
yeah,
checkers?
I get your channel, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I'll give it all to you. We
Okay,
already have a
great.
bird of butts emote, so you can just change it to bird of boots and it'll be fine.
There you go.
Perfect. Yeah, Boots at World of Vendors. You can find me on YouTube at World of Vendors or Twitter at the same place. And strangely enough, maybe whenever I stream, which is increased infinitely in the last week, technically something divided by 0 is not a real number. Is Boots _ WE for World of Vendors. I don't think you're gonna find it. And there you go. That's me.
The link in the description will be for his stream, so you will find it.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Which I will get, and I will put in the description. And I will go through all the old videos, and I will put that in the description as well. Okay.
But soon to
me.
be Bird of Chess.
Yes.
Yep,
More importantly.
yep.
Okay, cool. Lovely. Podcast has been here. I am Jebro Unity. Should probably change that at some point myself as well. But that is the name. The Unity is the name of our guild and community. So there you go. That's the thing. Twitch.tv/Jebro Unity. I have started internship recently, which is why things have been a bit all over the shop in terms of knowing my schedule, because I'm in training. So if these videos do come out, audio does come out a little bit later, I am very, very sorry, but that is something which is happening. And yeah, life is pretty hectic at the moment for me. It is starting to get clients and starting to see all the people. So if you do want to support me in what I do, it's muchly appreciated. This podcast goes out in various means and ways every single bloody week right now, because these lot keep coming back and I still don't know why. But like, they do keep coming back even though I asked them. And
Contractually obligated.
I'm very, very fortunate to have all of their opinions and the banter and everything else. We get on very well, and they're an awesome group of people, and I'm very happy they're here. So little claps to you guys. And just like I said, I stopped saying that earlier, but apparently I just used it. And we have got loads more shows coming in the future. We've got another Elite Specialization coming out next month. We've got World v World Alliances, which has just been moved again. We've got the Turtle coming up. We've got more reveals for camp, for loads of stuff coming up. So pay attention to the LightBringers podcast, which every week seems to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm getting loads of messages from you guys who are talking about stuff you're enjoying, guests you want to see back. These lot are all coming back and making sure I bring them back every time. I can't have like 20 people on the show at the same time. I'm sorry. But yes, go and support everywhere. And also there might be some news about this podcast being in a different format in the future, which could be a brand new thing, which I don't think I can talk about yet, but I will talk about in the future. And you'll find out about that as soon as I find out more about that. I can say that at the very least. Yes, thank you very much. Cue music. And go and follow everyone. Otherwise, I will find you.
Oh, no.
I will force you to press that subscribe button. Don't make me do it.
Yes, please do it.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon. Take care. And pay attention to the next episode of the LightBringers podcast next week. This was the LightBringers podcast. Plays Guild Wars 2. Elite Specializations. Fun times.
Oh, I do have one more thing to say.
Why is it? You flipped up the ending.
I
It'd be
know,
good.
perfect.
Wow, Boots.
Perfect.
I don't know
I
if
did
you're
that on
worthy of
purpose.
the mantle now.
Tell
Well, I'm
it.
not coming back next week, so I thought I'd burn all my bridges.
Fair.
is the first Grandmaster on Bladeswron 8% heal in PvP when you hit with it.
Are you kidding me?
It's slow.
Goodbye, everyone.
Slow.
See you next time.
Too low.
We gotta go eat dinner now. We've been talking for 3 hours.
I'm hanging on by a thread.
Thank
My
you for
blood
watching
sugar
this
is
episode.
so low.
I'm zooming them out. They're going away. I'm talking now. Thank you very much for watching this episode of the LightBringers podcast. See you next time. And if you are a fan of New World, there will also potentially be some episodes of a brand new podcast coming in the next couple of weeks, which I may be designing, or I may be on that show. It's some other people's shows as well. But take care, enjoy, and see you next time. Bye bye. Hey, these people can talk now.
Hey.
Woo.
Trash can, tuna melt.
Oh
Subway
my god.
sandwich.
Okay, go and eat food. No, I'm sorry. It's been a long time.
Please, group, don't eat out of the trash can. I don't know if that was a list of places you were gonna go eat or
That's
like
my checklist for after the
things
stream. We're like trash can,
Yeah.
tuna melt,
Good.
and go to Subway. Oh my God, Doggo!
Popo Cam.
He needs me.
Oh,
He
he
needs me.
baby. Okay, go love him. I'm gonna go eat dinner.
All right, everyone. Thank you so
Bye,
much again for being here.
everybody.
I
Thanks
appreciate
for having us, Jeb.
you. No worries.
Bianca.
See you
Hasta
soon.
luego, mis amigos.
Bye.
Hey guys.
Okay, peeps. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Don't forget, tomorrow will be the... I can end that call now. Tomorrow will be the Baldathon. We will be giving away a ton of Guild Wars to give stuff, gems, skins, all the things, okay, peeps? Loads of stuff. We've got a subathon tomorrow. We've got a subathon Sunday. Also, we're going to be doing some Sea of Thieves, but Guild Wars 2 will be a big feature, as well as some Elder Scrolls Online. Make sure you come and join us tomorrow. We're going to have a base time of like 3 hours. You can come out, gift subs, donations, all the things add up to different prize rewards that you can claim in the chat. So come and join us at 10 a.m. Pacific. Massively appreciate your support. It's been a busy place in the world for me recently. I'm sorry I'm not here as much as I would love to be. I'm still here quite often, and this is my main job and stuff I do to support myself. So if you do want to support the channel, it massively helps. You're supporting a future mental health counselor as well, working with kids and adolescents and all the things. So as I said, all the stuff below. I'll see you soon. I'll see you tomorrow. I won't be here tonight. I need a break. I really do. I also need to do some laundry. I need to get my nice Baldathon t-shirt out. Okay, I'm going to show you over to someone else who's awesome. But yeah, also this will be on YouTube tomorrow probably. How's your birthday tomorrow? Oh, happy birthday, man. I will do. Thank you as well, yeah, for saying that. Appreciate you all, people. Who's around? Oh, Bog is doing his subathon. Oh, really? Okay, cool. I didn't even know he was doing one. Awesome. Okay. Gonna send you over to Bog Alter, who is doing their subathon right now. Let's go over there in true Bog Alter form. And I'll see you tomorrow. 10 a.m. Pacific. Are you ready for the Baldathon? The Baldathon. Tomorrow. Join us then. Happy birthday, Angry Fist. You legend. Good night. It's nice to see you all again. See you soon. Thank you to the guests, Rook, Groof, and even World of Enders. All boots. See you soon, people. Go and check them out on Twitch. All of them. Bye-bye, peeps.